We can't head into winter without a proper celebration of the start of winter hiking. Get ready for the return of Full Conditions Winter Kickoff, presented by Bergen Outdoor and Reckless Brewing Company, happening Saturday, November 22nd at the Colonial Theater in Bethlehem. Each November, we celebrate the start of winter hiking with a full day of activities, all to raise money for local search and rescue teams through the New Hampshire Outdoor Council. On November 22nd, the day begins with a community hike to the summit of Mount Pemigewassa in Franconia Notch, where the Reckless crew will be waiting with hot chocolate, coffee, and snacks for fellow hikers. Later that evening, the Colonial Theater will host a ticketed event featuring an exclusive screening of 109 Degrees Below, a live episode of the SLASRPodcast, a lineup of inspiring guest speakers, and cans of Full Conditions IPA, our special collaboration brew. So who are we going to have for speakers with Slasher at this event, Stomp?
We have a heck of a lineup. So when the pod takes the stage, we're going to be joined by Reckless Steve, of course. He's going to give us a great update on the latest craft brews and what's happening at Reckless. We're also going to be interviewing Paul Cormier, who is the current president of Mountain Rescue Services. And then to top off the evening, we're going to be talking to Joe Lentini and Ty Gagne on stage combined. So, you know, Ty Gagne wrote the recent book, Lions of Winter. And Joe Lentini himself was a part of the Albert Dow event so many years ago. So it's going to be a really great night of education, talking about Full Conditions and what you can do to prepare, and so much other information. It's going to be a fantastic time.
Excellent. So if you want to go to this event, make sure you get tickets while they last. You can find them at eventbrite.com. You can search Reckless Full Conditions. There's also going to be a link with every episode that we're posting. And you can also find links in the Reckless bio, as well as Bergen Outdoors and Slasher. So we hope to see you there.
Yeah.
And it should be a great time.
Yeah, and remember, the Full Conditions event is a benefit for the New Hampshire Outdoor Council, which is an umbrella nonprofit in the state of New Hampshire that provides funding, grant monies to the volunteer search and rescue teams. So the night is a very important night for the teams.
Excellent, excellent.
See you there.
Here is the latest Higher Summits forecast, brought to you by our friends at the Mount Washington Observatory.
Weather above treeline in the White Mountains is often wildly different than at our trailheads. Before you hike, check the Higher Summits forecast at mountwashington.org. Weather observers working at the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory write this elevation-based forecast every morning and afternoon. Search and rescue teams, avalanche experts, and backcountry guides all rely on the Higher Summits forecast to anticipate weather conditions above treeline. You should too. Go to mountwashington.org or text forecast to 603-356-2137.
Hello, listeners. Nick here with your forecast for the weekend of November 15th, 2025, Friday. In the clouds with a slight chance of snow showers. Possible additional snow accumulations of a trace to 1 inch. High, mid-teens. Wind, north, shifting northwest at 20 to 35 miles per hour with gusts up to 50 miles per hour. Wind chill rising to 0 to 10 below. Friday night. In the clouds trending towards in and out of the clouds under mostly clear skies. A slight chance of snow showers early. Little to no additional snow accumulation. Low, mid-single digits. Wind northwest at 20 to 35 miles per hour, increasing to 40 to 55 miles per hour, with gusts up to 70 miles per hour. Wind chill falling to 15 below to 25 below. Saturday. In and out of the clouds trending towards mostly in the clear under increasingly cloudy skies, mostly in the clouds late. High, mid-20s. Wind northwest shifting west at 30 to 45 miles per hour with gusts up to 55 miles per hour. Wind chill rising 0 to 10 above. So pretty much full winter up on the rock pile. Stay safe out there. Happy hiking. Go crush some peaks.
Broadcasting from the Woodpecker Studio in the great Live Free or Die state of New Hampshire. Welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire and beyond. Here are your hosts, Mike and Nick.
Recording here. All right, Nick, we are back at it here for episode 213. You remember how to do this?
I don't know. I'm a little nervous. It's been a little while. I think it's been, what has it been, like a month or something probably since we've recorded at this point?
It has. I mean, I've been in India. I've been in Hawaii. Ken's here. He's been in like Las Vegas, and I don't know where else you've been traveling, Ken, but
yeah, just out to Nevada.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good times. And then Nick, you got news you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, so our baby boy Ethan was born on October 26th. So healthy birth, mom, baby doing well, other than us not sleeping much, which is kind of to be expected at this point in the game. But yeah, settling in as a family of 4. So that was cool. I got shingles before that, which was fun.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and rolled my ankle like a week and a half ago. So yeah, I'm recovering as well.
When the baby was the baby delivered in the middle of the night? I feel like it was like a middle of the night baby. Right?
4:36 a.m. on the 26th. Right. So yeah, we were coming over Saturday evening. Ash's, my wife's water broke when we were on the yard lighting a fire. She kind of bent over to get a stick and was like, "I think my water broke." Just sort of liquid everywhere, and sure enough, it did, and we got rolling.
Oh, nice. I feel like the middle of the night babies, that's the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's a good time. I feel like you're going to be up for like 2 days effectively, like no matter how it kind of goes. But she was in labor a lot less time than last time with my daughter, I should say.
Yeah.
So,
and how would you rate your performance as a dad in the delivery room? Were you above average? Were you average, or were you?
I don't know.
Average?
You know, it would have been a good question to ask the nurses and the midwife. I'm going to give myself like an 8 out of 10. I'll give. Okay. I did hold her leg while we were pushing and helping her do that. So I had a front row seat, and I did that with our daughter too. But it's saw it once and you see it again. You're like, holy! It's a thing. It's a thing to see. It's something to see in person for sure.
Yeah. It's a miracle. I mean, it's a miracle. It's amazing.
It's crazy
for sure. And they get you out of there quick too, right? Like I remember they got us out of there quick.
Yeah, I think we technically did 3 nights if you include like when we went in at 11 o'clock on the 25th. But yeah, everything kind of went well. It's funny. I feel like after you've already had a kid compared to the first time, like the nurses kind of just leave you alone. We were just there and they're like, okay, let us know if you guys need anything. Right. More Ash with like different things that she needed, but they kind of just trust you at that point.
All right. And then for the listeners, Nick has an older daughter who is like 3 or so. Yeah. How is she handling the life change?
She's adjusting. I wouldn't say that there's probably a bit of a resentment here and there. That's probably to be expected. She's been really great with him. She was actually playing with him right before I came up to record on a little toy mat. So she's been good. I think she's getting used to not being the center of attention though. Like we had some friends over last night and kind of everybody's obviously like with the baby, and she was a little out of sorts, I think, for the last few hours before bedtime, but nothing unusual, I think.
Well, she'll figure out how to get the attention when she needs it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, Nick, Ken, any words of wisdom for baby number 2 for Nick and Ashley?
Oh boy, just enjoy every moment. You know, everyone always tells you it goes by really fast, and believe me, it does. So enjoy every moment.
Yeah, we're reveling in it.
That's exactly right, Ken. I mean, before you blink, your kids are in college or they're getting married and moving out of the house. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right. So welcome to episode 213 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. This week, good friend of the show and author Ken Bosse joins us. Ken recently published his 4th book. I think it's fair to say you're now a prolific author with 4 books, right?
I guess so.
I think that's fair.
I think that's a fair label. So this new book is called They Said It's Dangerous, a lighthearted look at some of the dangers hikers can be faced with So this is Ken's fourth book, and as always, profits from Ken's books go to the New Hampshire Outdoor Council, so we wanted to have him join us to promote this, and we'll talk about the other 3 books as well. But this is a chance to support local search and rescue teams. So Ken's going to sit in with us today, and we'll catch up on a bunch of topics because we've been off for like the last month or so. So some of the topics will include the mystery of an abandoned tent in the White Mountains that has made national news. There was also a rough day on Mount Washington a couple of weeks ago where there was about 20 people that had to be rescued, so we'll talk about that. That was the Cog Railway had helped out on that one with ill-prepared hikers in an early burst of winter-like conditions. Plus, we've got naked hikers. We've got New Hampshire being declared the best place to raise a family, Siberian Log Fires, an overview of some hiking in Hawaii, and we'll catch up on recent search and rescue news. I'm Mike.
And I'm Nick.
Let's get started.
Let's get started!
So let's jump into our friend Christina and Wild Raven Endurance Coaching, and then we'll come out on the other side.
All right.
Hi, I'm Christina from Wild Raven Endurance Coaching. I work with athletes of all levels, from hikers to triathletes, helping you reach your goals with personalized guidance. With years of experience hiking, mountain biking, and trail running across New England, I also have a deep knowledge of the New Hampshire 4,000 footers and the surrounding trails. Whether you're a beginner hiker or a seasoned athlete, I'll guide you towards your goals, reducing injury risk and improving your performance through smart, tailored coaching. Are you looking to transition from hiking to mountain running? I'm here to make that journey easier too. My approach combines strength training, mindfulness, and life balance on and off the trail. Let me help you find more joy in your sport while getting stronger and healthier along the way. Visit www.coaching.christinafolsick.com and start your adventure today.
Okay. So thank you, Christina. So I guess, Nick, I should probably, and I already prepped Ken on this, but I should probably prep the audience just in case you hear me hacking up a lung and coughing. I'm just recovering from pneumonia, so it's been a little bit of a rough go for me over the last 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, glad you're on the mend at least. I
Yes.
was feeling bad for you, me and Stomp, and you were going back and forth. And whew.
Yeah, it wasn't great. So I think it's just the travel between India and then I think first of all I sit home all day by myself working remote, so I'm never exposed to anybody. And then all of a sudden I got to go to India. I'm exposed to all the stuff in the airports and in the office, and then I got to go back through Europe, and then I'm at the hotel in Hawaii. I'm at the airport, and it's just exposing to too many germy people, I think.
Yeah, sounds plausible. I feel like I get it through my daughter's daycare a little bit, but I imagine like when she starts going to school and stuff, that'll be a whole different ball game of exposure. But I was saying to you and Stomp, if you guys ever want me to like pass along anything from our daughter or anything and start pass you guys some germs, I'd be happy to do that. Strengthen your immune system.
Ken, you know what I need to start doing is I do go to church occasionally. I'm a Catholic, but I need to start going to mass more frequently to build up my immune system, because that does it too, right?
Yeah. Where do you live?
I'm in Amesbury, Mass.
That's not too far. You should swing by some Sunday and join us.
Yeah, I'll have to.
You'd love it. You'd love it.
Yeah. So are you trying to convert me from Catholic?
I'm sorry. Of course not. Of course not. I'm sorry to hear you're sick. That's really horrible. I heard of a Roman emperor that was sick the whole time he was on the throne. He was Julius Sneezer.
Oh yeah, that would have been a good name for me for sure. So that's a good one. All right, so we'll keep the listeners updated to see if Ken can successfully convert me from a non-practicing Catholic.
What kind of show is this?
We'll see anyway. But anyway, so yeah, Nick's had a baby. I've been traveling, but we're back at it. And then just a heads up, we do have the full conditions event coming up on November 22nd. So we'll link that in our show notes if people want to come by and check that out. We're excited about that. So that'll be our live episode. And then I think, Nick, we've got New Hampshire hiker is signed up for next week, so we'll have
Correct.
her coming through, and then I'm going to get Rebecca Sperry and maybe
Awesome.
see if Andy can join us for the following week. So we'll have guests through Thanksgiving and after.
Yeah, just to let you guys know what's planned for the holidays as we approach the holidays, I guess.
Right. Sneak preview here. All right. So one other thing I do want to talk about is, Nick, you got some good photos last night of the Aurora Borealis, and was supposed to get another peek at this tonight. So after the show, I'm going to go outside and check it out, although I'm not confident. It feels like it's going to be very cloudy tonight. But you got some good photos, right?
Yeah, I went out last night. My buddy Mike, actually, not you, Mike, but another Mike. I know too many Mikes, it seems. But he texted me and was like, "Hey, like, there's Aurora tonight." So I went out like 9:30 to like 11 o'clock last night. I live in like Rehoboth down in Southeast Mass, so it's pretty dark. It's not anywhere near like being up in New Hampshire, obviously. It looks like people are getting ridiculous pictures up there where it's a little bit dark, but it was pretty good. It was more vivid than I think in October last year. It looked like we got some down here, and everybody was kind of sharing it, so it was nice.
Do you have any advice for photographers to get the best type of view for the Aurora?
Go somewhere dark, ideally as dark as possible. The phone cameras nowadays are pretty good to if you just want to do a quick photo and see if it's actually happening. A lot of times it's tough to see it with your eyes. Last night it was vivid enough that you could absolutely see the pink and green, like even here. But ideally, if you want kind of an actual camera and do like a long exposure, I think I was doing like 10-second exposures to 30 seconds last night with the clouds blowing in. So it worked really well, and you could see those greens and pinks and stuff coming through. So it's pretty.
Excellent. All right. So we'll look forward to that. And hopefully Nick will post some stuff on the Slasher Instagram for tonight if we get some good views. Ken, in your writing, you've always, sort of talked about like calamities that can happen on trail. Have you ever had to abandon any gear that when you were out hiking and just basically run away? Like say for example, a black bear or one of your friends decides that they want to give you a hug or something and you have to go running away and leave your backpack. So have you ever had that happen to you when you're on trail?
Not on purpose.
No,
not yet.
Well, the reason I ask is that this was like a social media type of story, and then it got picked up by the local and national news. But there was an abandoned tent, and I think, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this was at Valley Way tent site. Is that correct?
Oh, I was just actually opening up the article to see where it was.
Yeah, it was. It was at Valley Way tent site. So this abandoned tent, it was originally flagged on Sunday, October 26th. And the way these things happen on social media is like somebody will post a picture and they'll say like, hey, I found this campsite. And in this case, there was keys that were located inside the tent. So that got people kind of weirded out because that's a little strange because you would think at minimum you would take your keys with you. But this was like a full tent, gear inside, sleeping bag and other items. Everything was wet. And then there was still food in the bear box there. So whoever set this tent up, they were nowhere to be found. So somebody had posted it on one of the Facebook groups and said, hey, if this is anybody's gear, I've got your keys or whatever. And then some other people had chimed in and said, oh yeah, I was there last week and I saw this tent. So it had been, I guess, out there for a while. And nobody knew whose tent it was. And typically these things, like, somebody will end up, claiming it. And Fish and Game got involved, and they were notified. And, they had said that they didn't have any reports of anybody missing any keys or anything like that. So by, I think, the 27th or so of October was when they got the initial report, maybe the 26th. And a lot of comments on Facebook, people concerned. And I actually wasn't that concerned about this one, Nick, because I've got a little bit of experience with abandoned gear. And I think what happens in these cases is that people either they set up their tent in a place where they get wet at night, or there's some kind of an animal that comes around and they get freaked out and they just get the hell out of Dodge. Or they just realize, like, I'm going to freeze to death if I don't get moving, and they just get rolling. So I think that's what happened here.
Yeah, it's odd that they left their car keys. To me, that seems strange. But I mean, if you said, if they were spooked or if they were cold or whatever, they're probably not thinking the most rationally. That tent site's like way up there too, so it's not like it's got to be about 3 miles in or something like that, and probably 2,500, 3,000 feet up. So That's a heck of a hike to go up there. So I'm kind of surprised they left all that stuff back. Like I'm assuming they weren't planning on going back to get it,
right,
obviously.
Right.
But
yeah. And I actually had a little experience. So I've had multiple experiences with this abandoned gear. So my friends, Mindy and Beth Lynn, I had stumbled upon them when one of them had stepped off to, for nature's call and had found an abandoned backpack on the Jewel Trail that was involved in a rescue that the guy had just left his backpack probably 20, 30 feet off trail, and Mindy had located it, and then we were able to return it to that hiker like 6 years later. But I also had an incident on Franconia Ridge I don't know if you remember this, Nick, like maybe 2 years ago, I found a backpack, a full backpack, and a bunch of food that was stashed like right off trail. I think it was right below Little Haystack. And I found all this gear and I was digging through it and it was frozen and wet. So I took as much of it as I could. I couldn't take everything because it was probably about 30, 40 pounds worth of gear, but I took like this sleeping bag and some other stuff. And when I got it home, I defrosted it and it was essentially like a cotton sleeping bag that was like frozen, but it was soaking wet. So it wasn't even like a usable sleeping bag. It was just like a quilt that you would use on like your couch that somebody was bringing. So clearly the people were just inexperienced and they dumped everything and just probably headed down. So I remember when I posted that, I got a bunch of people saying like, well, they might have, and this was like, it was snowing and it was early winter, and people were saying like, well, you shouldn't have touched it, and that, somebody might have been coming back, but like there was no footprints and anything. So I just took it down like it was trash.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, this brings up sometimes thinking of on trail, what she said this weekend with Ryland, but like people will put up like trek and pull pieces or things like that in trees. Like, at what point do you guys have like objects that you'll just take down if you see them? Because I'm like, does he think people aren't gonna come back and get them? Like, because I've done that before. Maybe not like a pair of gloves, but like a single sock or things like that. I've definitely taken out before because I'm assuming nobody's coming back for that.
Yeah, I just throw it in my bag, in my outside pocket, and just.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Toss it when I get home. But I was reading through that thread that I had posted on Facebook about the abandoned stuff. And there was another comment on there about somebody had left a bunch of gear on the Garfield, Skookumchuck Trail near the junction of Garfield Ridge. So it definitely happens. This one was 3 years ago. There was another case where somebody left a whole campsite in the middle of the Castle Ravine Trail, and somebody had located it, and it looked like somebody had just basically taken off very quickly. So it does happen.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I know that guy that left. That was a big Agnes tent, right? That he left behind?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I know that guy. He also owns a teepee. He's a super nice guy, but he's 2 tents.
Yeah, 2 tents. Oh, geez.
I was waiting for that.
We know Ken is here. Did you have these prepared, or do you come up with them on the fly?
They're just rolling in.
That's nice. That's nice.
Excellent.
So anyway, so I think my verdict on this one, Nick, is that the hiker got spooked, took off. They probably like called their wife or their friend or whatever and had an extra set of keys, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, still break and leave no trace, but I guess it happens. At least people are out there and being conscious of like, hey, is this missing persons thing? Is this something? So people were investigating.
Yes, yeah. So this next story, we're going to leave New Hampshire for a minute, and we're going to go to the great state of Canada. Don't ask me where in Canada. Oh, Vancouver. So a hiker was found barefoot wearing a garbage bag in the rain after losing their gear.
That's a bad day. That's a bad
day. The man
day.
told rescuers that he'd been on trail since the previous day. So this man was found shoeless wearing a trash bag in a rainstorm. I mean, I guess if it's raining, a trash bag is not a bad thing to wear. It's just you should have other things, which I think he was just wearing a trash bag. But it was a rainstorm on a British Columbia trail And he told first responders that he had misplaced all of his gear mid-hike and that he was looking for it. So basically on Halloween, 2 trail runners reported to authorities that they encountered a man wearing a black trash bag on the trail in Northern Falls, which is in the Vancouver metro area. So rangers headed up the trail on a utility vehicle, and they worked with North Shore Rescue, and they encountered the guy about 2 miles from the trailhead. He was wet but uninjured, and they ended up driving him back to the trailhead. It turned out that he had been on trail since the previous day. He told rescuers that he had stashed his pack in a hollow tree and had gone to collect water, but had been unable to find his gear afterwards. So I guess he must have taken his clothes off and put the trash bag on. And then he lost his shoes. So he said he lost those after he fell while searching for his pack in the dark. So not a good, you should interview this guy for your next book, Ken.
I was going to say, I'll bet you when they found him that he was glad.
Right. Yep. No, that's a good one.
If he had one of those scented ones, could smell down the trail.
I wonder. So anyway, the guy has quite a story to tell, but I guess the moral of the story is that even if your clothes are wet, like, don't take them off unless you know where you're going to keep them.
Yeah, it's an odd decision. I mean, I guess there's the you want to get wet clothing off kind of thing, but if you just get a trash bag as an option, it seems like maybe not the greatest idea.
Yeah, not a good idea at all. So, especially if you're going to be naked, if you're going to leave your tent for some reason, just make sure that you bring your headlamp so you can find your way back.
Yes.
Okay. All right, this next one, we're going to go back to New Hampshire. Stomp had pulled this article, I think.
Yeah.
And this is a list of the best states to raise a family in New Hampshire. This is from the Journal of Consumer Research. So this is a highly, highly reputable organization here. And they have determined that New Hampshire is this year's #1 state to raise a family in. And they dethroned Vermont from the top spot. And then the good news is for the rest of the New Englanders, Connecticut and Massachusetts are both in the top 10 this year, and Maine stayed in second place for the second year in a row. So basically, New Hampshire and Maine are considered the 2 best places to raise a family, and then Connecticut and Massachusetts are hanging in there, and it looks like Vermont is number 4. So basically, you have New Hampshire 1, Maine 2, Vermont 4, Massachusetts 9, Connecticut 6, and Rhode Island is 14. So sorry, Rhode Island, you're just a little too small for that. But does that match up with you? What do you guys think of this? Is this realistic?
Yeah, I mean, I was born and raised in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and I've lived in New Hampshire all my life. I think it's just one of the greatest states ever. It's got so much. You know, you're not far from the ocean. You've got the lakes area. You've got the mountains area. You get a couple of fairly good sized cities if you want city life, and it's got a little of everything.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that you've got like you've got the ocean, you've got the mountains, you've got the lakes, and it's not, even though we complain about like it is too crowded, but it's really not from a density perspective, especially when you compare it to Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New York.
Yeah.
So, and up until recently, the cost of living was reasonable, but that COVID kind of blew that up.
Yeah.
So, anyone want to guess what the worst state to raise a family in is?
I'm gonna guess down south somewhere, maybe. Not to call it the Southerners, but
Nevada.
The
worst state to raise a family in. I don't know how they use it. They have affordability, safety, public education, healthcare, and then a quality of life ranking. So I don't know. Nevada was the place to move to a couple of years ago, and now I guess the shine has worn off the apple a little bit there.
I feel like Texas has been growing fast for a while, right? Like a lot of those cities out there with healthcare and things like that.
Yeah, Texas is 43, so they're not. It looks like it's the Northeast is clustered as popular, Wisconsin, and then Wyoming, Idaho. So the Mountain West is pretty popular, and then you've got the Upper Midwest as well, and then the Southeast, and then the West and the South are where they're the worst places to raise a family, supposedly. So it's all subjective.
Yeah, we're all in the top 10 here. that's good, I guess.
So another good thing about New Hampshire is that they have lifted their New Hampshire fire ban. They had a ban going on because we were kind of going into a dry period, but soaking rain and early snowfall have resulted in New Hampshire officials lifting the recent statewide ban. So you can let the fires rip, folks.
Live free or die, right?
Right. And then Stomp, in his wisdom, has added to the script here a instruction video on how to make a Siberian log fire. Ken, do you have any idea how to make a Siberian log fire?
I don't, but I was looking at some of the pictures that you sent, and I can kind of figure it out. It's you get a good fire, and the logs just keep feeding themselves in as they burn down, right? I'm assuming that's how it works.
Right, exactly.
Pretty cool. Cool stuff.
Yeah, the way I would describe this is you sort of make like a 3-sided lean-to where you've got a long log that is right next to your campsite, and then you're leaning like 6 or 7 logs perpendicular towards the end, and then that opens up a little bit of airflow, and then you're burning the main big log, and then on top of that is the end of the 6 or 7 longer logs. And then, like you said, Ken, you just feed them forward as it goes. And supposedly this technique is a slow burn with high heat, and you don't have to tend to the fire that much. It's a good overnight option. And then it directs the heat towards the campsite as long as you're kind of facing the end of the 6 or 7 logs that are going up. So I'll have to try this. I feel like I've done this technique inadvertently a couple times at camp, but have to try it again in the future. All right. So Nick, have you ever done a Siberian log fire?
I can't say I have. Usually I kind of go for the standard TP or try to just lay stuff across the fire and keep pushing it in. I haven't gotten that fancy yet. I'll have to give it a shot next time we light a fire here in the backyard.
Yeah, I think I'm going to assign both of my daughter's boyfriends a Siberian log fire when they come up to Maine next time.
That sounds like a good chore.
Yeah.
What's I'm guessing that it originates in Siberia.
I think so. Yeah.
That'd be funny if it didn't.
Right. Yeah, some guy from Idaho that's like, I'm going to call this a Siberian log. So I do enjoy assigning the boyfriends fire duty. And what I tend to do with them is I tell them that they have to start the fire, but they only get one match. And I just say, you're only allowed one match and you have to start the fire, and don't come to me if you screw it up.
There you go.
Yeah. And they were successful in the mission last time.
You can usually tell pretty quickly if people were, say, grew up lighting fires, or maybe pyromaniacs. That might be more of a boy thing, where you go through a phase just lighting fires. I know in my parents' backyard, but I'm reminded with my buddy Josh one time going up to Maine for, actually, I think it was actually Vermont. We went for his bachelor party, but we had a bunch of folks that had grown up kind of in the city, never having lit a fire, and it was like painful for a little bit to watch, where it was like a 2-hour process, and yeah, it was. After maybe some alcohol was consumed, so it was kind of like, guys, can I step in there and help you out a little bit? We're getting cold. It's getting dark. We need to get some burgers going. But
what number was Maine as far as quality of life?
Maine was number 2.
Wow, I find that hard to believe.
Right. So
not that there's not a lot of crime there, but they can never solve their crime.
Yeah, they have like a couple of cities that have like these clusters, and I think I read the other day that Portland is having some issues with, like, similar to Boston, where they have I guess a higher tolerance towards drug use and things like that. I read that Portland's having some of those similar issues, but I feel like the one thing about Portland is that if you're a homeless person, like, it's not a great place to hang your hat. It's really, you got to move along, especially this time of the year. It just gets too cold. Either that or you're kind of forced inside. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I guess Maine, the down east and coastal Maine is still pretty nice, pretty popular.
Yeah, the northern section, they can never solve crime because there's no dental records and all the DNA is the same.
That was a long lead up. You were letting us marinate on that one, Ken.
Oh boy, we're gonna get canceled in Maine now.
There goes that listenership.
All right. So one of the things, so Stomp has been very busy behind the scenes. Stomp put together an AI compiled list of Slasher episode show notes. So we'll link those in the show notes if you want to check that out. So basically, it's kind of a glossary of topics and stuff that we've worked on, and it's a first pass on AI, and we'll expand it. But in case you're looking for a resource, it's pretty good.
Or if we're looking to see what we've covered in shows already.
Exactly. So. All right. And then moving on, we got a couple more New Hampshire stories here. So 20 hikers were rescued from Mount Washington. So Nick, I don't know if you want to break this one down. Like, we were ahead of this curve because Andy was texting us the day that it happened, but why don't you summarize this one?
Yeah, we got the inside scoop from our buddy Andy, but this day was just a mess up there. And I think I had like probably a dozen different people sort of send this to me. It made national news, actually. So let's see, when was this back on? The 26th?
October 26th.
October 26th. They had like 20 plus hikers rescued from Mount Washington. The COG was helping out, but basically just wintry conditions. I mean, obviously we know it's shoulder season, these things happen, but it seems like for whatever reason, there was just a lot of people going up there that day, completely unprepared for sort of the conditions at Treeline. I know it even snowed, I believe, at the COG base station that day. So it's not like the ground and the weather was completely clear and it looked like a beautiful day and the weather went sideways. Like, this definitely looked like sort of a cold, nasty day. Wind, bad visibility, blowing snow and probably ice and stuff above tree line. And fortunately, the COG kind of was there to help get a lot of these people down. Like Mike mentioned, our buddy Andy kind of gave us the heads up that this was happening. And they were helping bring people down. So thankfully they were up there, and kind of the SAR teams, I don't believe, had to get involved. But yeah, ended up making kind of the big headlines with this one, with that many hikers being rescued and pulled off the home of the world's worst weather that day.
Yeah. So our friend Andy, who's been on the show co-hosting, he was the one that basically he got a couple of quotes in the national news around the fact that he was picking people up basically, and they were shivering violently and convulsing, and that it would have gotten really ugly up there. So I think it must have just been a lot of people had this weekend circled on their foliage hiking, and they figured like, all right, I'm committed, so I'm going up, and they had no idea what they were going to be walking into.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically, it looks like conditions kind of in the middle of the day, 21 degrees, 30 mile per hour winds, completely stocked in with fog. Perfect conditions for hypothermia. Andy's kind of quoted here saying a lot of the hikers were hypothermic that they were bringing down. They had started to convulse and shiver violently. And yeah, again, just a shout out to the COG, everybody. I think we talk a lot about it. A lot of people have mixed feelings about development on the summit, but I mean, if the COG hadn't been up there running trains, 20 people to get down, can you imagine how many search and rescue? That's not even feasible. I mean, if they had maybe 50, 60 people up there, you're not getting 20 people down in a reasonable amount of time from search and rescue.
Was that a group? Was that a group hike or just 20 separate people?
No, 20. I mean, it looks like there was some groups of people, but it was 20. It's not like it was all the same sort of outing or anything. This is just a bunch of people going up there that day.
Wow.
Yeah. Andy texted us. He's just like, you wouldn't believe the carnage up here with folks that are just in trouble, and luckily the COG was running and they could take them down. But even like Nick and I, we had gone in a group probably, I don't even know, like mid-October, and the weather, we experienced like 3 different types of weather that day. It was like beautiful. Then the wind picked up. And then when we got up on Mount Washington, like it became socked in and extra windy and cold weather. But even that day, Nick, I feel like we saw a bunch. I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, some of these people going up Crawford Path from Ammonoosuc, I was like, how are they going to get, it was like 2:00 and I was like, how are they going to get down? And I'm assuming they take the COG down, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like they're saying here, it was like a 3-degree wind chill basically that day. So really nasty. And yeah, like you said, Mike, that was actually, I know, cause I was sharing pictures from it. It seemed like forever. I was really enjoying those photos, but that was the last week of September. And I mean, we were up there. It was like winter temperatures. Like, I mean, it wasn't I'd say like winter at base level, but I mean, probably 40s, 50s maybe. And it was gusting good. I know I was taking a picture of you guys and got almost knocked over by it. And yeah, like you mentioned, it clear and sunny, and then 10 minutes we're coming down from the summit. It's completely socked in. You couldn't even see it up there. So you got to be cautious. And especially when these temperatures start dropping, as we approach into the winter, you really get these temperature ranges that really vary wildly. Like you might have 50, 60 degrees at the trailhead in the day. And then you got 20s and maybe teens on top of Mount Washington this time of year. So gotta be prepared.
Yeah, especially the folks that just commit to like, this is my day, I'm going to go hiking. It's a Saturday. They're not looking at the weather. They're just like, all right, I'm going to go up, and things look reasonable down below, and they don't know what they're walking into. Matter of fact, the next day, Fish and Game did have to come up. They rescued a guy from Rhode Island, 20-year-old guy from Rhode Island, on Tuckerman. He was like 0.3 of a mile below the summit. He called on his cell phone, and he was on trail, but his headlamp and cell phone were both dying. He had no backup equipment. He wasn't prepared to spend the night. So conditions on the summit were, limited visibility, and like you said, a wind chill of 3 degrees. So conservation officers in the Androscoggin Valley Search and Rescue had to go up via the auto road and rescue this guy. So he was lucky he was close to the auto road, but so Saturday they got 20 people, and then this guy, I guess, apparently made it through whatever. If there was any folks at the trailheads warning people, this guy must have missed the warning. But it's a scary situation up there.
Yeah. I did want to shout out, just in relation to timing, is that I think a lot of people too are thinking Columbus Day or maybe even later for peak foliage. And you can keep track of foliage maps. The New Hampshire Tourism website does it, so you can kind of see what's there. But the weekend we were actually up there, Mike, the observatory posted, it peaked like the last week of September on Washington this year. That was foliage. So, I mean, I imagine a lot of these people are coming up there for foliage and leaves and things like that. I mean, it was full out stick season. Probably by that point they were up there. You can go to southern New Hampshire and probably see the leaves change and stuff. And I'm sure, Ken, you could speak to kind of how it looked in your neck of the woods. But yeah, pay attention to those bubbles. I mean, you might be able to go a little bit earlier and not have to deal with the shifting weather conditions as much.
Yeah, definitely an early foliage this year, that's for sure.
Yeah. I wonder if I remember seeing like memories on my Facebook about like late October, and I was up there, and it was foliage from a couple of years ago. So I think we had a pretty dry season this year, so maybe that impacted it. But anyway, luckily there was no no real tragedies, but it could have happened for sure. So, but speaking of averting tragedy here, I got another story. A 2-year-old. Do you know, Ken, where is Dorchester, New Hampshire? I don't even know where that is.
Dorchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess it's on the western side of the state, which I'm not too familiar with.
Right. That's what I always assume when I hear of a town that I haven't heard about. 2-year-old girl went missing for hours though, and luckily a canine dog was able to find this little girl. I guess she was playing in her front yard, and she went missing for about 45. She was gone for about 45 minutes at the time of the call, and she had been playing in her front yard, which was fenced in. But somehow this kid got opened the fence, and they immediately mobilized about 100 volunteers to help find this missing girl. It was 4 p.m. on Friday, so they're racing with the darkness, and this looks like it happened mid-October, so before the time change, I think. But luckily they were able to, with the help of New England Canine Search and Rescue, they were able to find this little girl. She wasn't hurt, and she was happy to see the dog. So all's well that ends well. But that could have been a scary situation too, because the temperature's dropping at night. You don't want a 2-year-old out there in the dark. So.
Yeah, I'm glad they found her before she made her way up Mount Washington.
Right, exactly. So then the COG would have to take her down. So
yes,
yeah. So, all right, Nick. A couple of other things here. So shout out to Craig Heiselman, who was on episode 211. He had given the AMC Adopt Trail November updates. He gave us a shout out to listen to that episode. Craig. So it was great to learn about trail adoption and trail maintenance. And I'm hooked on my trail maintenance. So. Ken, is that something you ever have any interest in?
I do trail maintenance in Pawtuckaway State Park.
Oh, you do? Okay. So
a little.
I figured you probably had your hands in that too. So it's pretty fun. I just picked it up this year. Nick's been doing it for a couple of years, but Nick has what do you have, Valleyway cutoff, Nick?
Airline cutoff.
Airline cutoff, that's right. And then I have the bald face, part of the bald face circle. So it's been fun.
Nice.
So
I need to check out Pawtuckaway. That's been on my list for a while. I've heard really great things about it.
Yeah, especially if you're into rock climbing. A lot of climbers go out there because there's so much rock everywhere on that park.
Okay. Cool.
get the kids into bouldering and rock climbing, Nick.
Yeah.
Let
me know. I can take you out to the infamous Indian Steps.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like this real crazy thing that came out like the mid 1800s and then kind of came back to the surface early 1900s and then was lost back in the 1970s. And then me and a couple of guys started really hunting for it, and we finally found them. They brought a geologist out there, the park ranger out there, the whole 9 yards.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it like a natural rock formation?
It is. It's a natural rock formation of like about 14 or 15 perfectly spaced steps going right down the side of this big dome rock.
I'll have to look that up.
Oh yeah,
very cool.
I'm looking. The first hit is Ken out there.
It's famous.
Look at that. Oh yeah, it's like there's like a chimney here, Ken. Right?
Yeah, up the rock. You mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. It looks like you got some artifacts in there, a car as well, or some kind of an old vehicle is. Yeah,
there's a car. Yeah, because we were scouring South Peak and going down the sides and everything, and we dropped down the side. We dropped down the north side of South Peak, and there's this frame with an engine sitting out there. I don't know how they got it on the top of that mountain, but they did.
Some drunk high school kids got it. Took a one-way trip out there some night. I bet.
Yeah.
So. I saw an article on one of the social medias there's a guy hunting an airplane that crashed in 1972. It's like a yellow and white Cessna type plane. And he was asking for information for people that anybody knew anything about plane crashes. And he had like the number of the plane, and he wanted to see if people were aware of it. So there are a lot of plane crashes in the whites, obviously, but I couldn't. I was reading a little bit about it, but it doesn't sound like this one's ever been located.
That's not off of Belknap, is it?
I forget where he said. I bookmarked it, so I'll take a look. I was going to add it to, I just didn't add it to the script because I didn't have time, and here I am talking about it. So
yeah,
but I don't think it was the Belknaps. It was Western Maine in New Hampshire, so it was on the Maine side of New England.
There was like a B-17 or B-24 that went down in Pawtuckaway Park because it's not too far from Pease Air Base, which was active back then. And they have, the only thing you can find is they have a granite bench with all the names of the servicemen that were on it. Their names are engraved in that.
Okay. Yeah. I gotta get on some of those hikes and learn more about the plane crashes. The only one I've really seen is the Mount Success, the one from the 1950s.
Yeah.
All right. And Ken, did you pay attention to this guy that decided that he was going to hike all the 4,000 footers in like a week? And he was on social media, and he ended up doing it in 11 days.
Yeah, I was following some of that. I didn't pick up all of it, obviously, but I saw a couple of his hikes, and I think his partner went out and did a little hiking with him from time to time.
Right. Yeah. So they signed up for another stunt, and this one was interesting. So there's two of them. It's called Recycle Percussion. So there's Ryan, and then is it Jason, Nick?
Justin.
Okay. So I guess they give each other challenges, which we should do this, Ken. We should give each other challenges moving forward.
Yeah.
I have to think of an idea. So maybe 3 burgers at Black Mountain Burger instead of 2 after you finish a hike.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my guess.
Do you know those guys personally, Nick?
No, I do not.
Okay.
No,
I was going to say, if you're looking for a challenge, I'll see if they could do all the leaves on my property in an hour.
Ooh, that would be good. That would be good.
That's a great challenge. I might have to think of that idea. Maybe they could go to my house and then your house.
That's right. A twofer.
You know what's been sticking in my head though is, and again, I'm getting to the point where I'm a little bit too old for these, but the 100 peaks in 2 weeks challenge, doing the 4,000 footers and the 52 with the views in 2 weeks. To me, that seems like that would be cool for someone to sign up and do. So, but I don't think it's going to be me. But anyway, this Recycle Percussion group, they did a new challenge where I guess Ryan, who was the guy that did the 4,000 footers, he challenged Justin to spend 30 days on a deserted island and he had to write a book while he was on there. So they sent the guy down to the Caribbean. I don't know where it was, maybe the Bahamas or something. Somehow they did find a deserted island, but it was a disaster because it had sand fleas all over it. So the guy and he didn't put up his rain fly either, so he got rained on. So he's like soaking wet in his tent. It was a disaster. I felt bad for him. But he just couldn't even get outside of his tent because the sand fleas were everywhere. So he basically gave up after a day, and now he's driving around somewhere in Florida writing a book.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. So I'm at the age right now, my personal challenges are just go hiking and come back uninjured.
Right. Exactly. You know, if I go out running and I don't have an accident, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's the latest with the recycled percussion. So they're always up to stunt. So we'll keep an eye on them and see what happens. And then, what else do we have here, Nick? Waterville Valley Ski Resort. There's an update on the expansion here. Apparently, Stomp had put in some notes here saying that there was some negative feedback about the ski slope expansion. I don't really know. Do you understand this, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I'd looked into it, I believe a month or so back when they had originally proposed it. And this is something too that, just historically, I think since like the 70s, Waterville Valley has been looking to sort of expand their property. It was quite the expansion. I think they're almost doubling the amount of skiable terrain that they proposed. My thought is, and I think kind of Stomp and Dave talked about this too, but I think they're probably over asking for what they think they're going to get. Right. And they'll get some sort of thing in the middle, but a lot of development, Green Peak and a lot of that Grand Traverse area would be part of it. They're talking about a giant restaurant and a lot of development over there. I think it's important if you do feel strongly about maybe this not being developed, or maybe you feel the other direction, definitely voice your opinion. I believe there's going to be sort of a chance for people to sort of speak out and kind of chime in about how they feel about this thing. And I think one of the bigger things too, and Stomp mentioned this too, but you also got some potential Canada lynx territory up there. I believe there's a couple different birds that kind of have sensitive habitat. So it's an interesting thing. I always find it interesting that you've got sort of wildcat, for example, but you've got ski areas in the White Mountain National Forest that sort of operate with this under this permit, sort of this diction to do what they do in the National Forest. And wildcat hasn't expanded basically ever. So I'm kind of curious why Waterville Valley has the ability to expand potentially so much in a White Mountain National Forest land. It's kind of interesting to me. I don't know exactly how that works. I don't know all the politics, obviously, and how sort of national forest lands work in terms with private companies. But it's an interesting thing if you start kind of looking into it and what's going on over there at Waterville Valley.
Yeah, I guess my understanding is that and there's some notes in here that talk about this, but a recurring issue is that the lodging in the town is not connected to the slopes on federal land, so they have to rely on shuttles. And ideally, I think they're trying to get this gondola set up so that can fix it. So like many of the others, like Loon,
you've got like ski in, ski out situations.
Yeah, Loon has ski in and ski out, and then Wildcat not so much, but Cranmore certainly. And then the Vermont resorts also have that ski out from their property. So I think that Waterville's trying to get that. I do know that they're politically connected. I think one of the Sununus is involved with Waterville, and typically they've been good, generally pretty good stewards of what they have for the ski slope. But they're probably looking at Loon and looking at the pricing they're getting and figuring listen, we got to keep up here. But I think that's another concern, is that I think it's a nice local ski resort. If they get this expansion pretty soon, what are the prices going to look like? I haven't really priced out Waterville, but I'm assuming it's cheaper than Loon. Loon is ridiculously expensive now.
Yeah, and Dave and Stomp talked about this too, but I'd be really curious kind of what their ROI is in terms of how long do they think it's going to take for them to make their money back, because they're talking about it in quite a large amount of money to be able to do this. And I'm sure it's going to take a really lengthy amount of time. Obviously, it's not going to happen in a season or something. So I'd be curious what that long-term plan looks like from Waterville Valley's end.
Yeah. I'm sure private equity will be very happy to lend them the money and collect that, that monthly interest from whoever is doing the development. So, and then when they can't make that payment, then Vail will come in and purchase them or whatever.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right. So just changing the subjects here, and we'll probably skip some of these here, but two guys in New Zealand, Nick, have recreated the Lord of the Rings, the journey that Samwise and Frodo had taken to take the ring to Mordor. So they're recreating this in New Zealand. So they're going from, I guess, the Hobbit town in New Zealand where these movies were filmed to some mountain that was used as the stand-in. I guess the mountain is called Mount Guraho, which is also known as Mount Doom in the films. So they set off from their home in the Shire, and then they're going to take this 300-mile quest to recreate Sam and Frodo's. But the only problem with this is I did some research, and the actual quest in the book is closer to 1,600 miles instead of 300 miles. So these guys have to do 6 laps. So, but they're dressed up like hobbits, and they've got their little tunics, and they've got their wooden walking sticks, and they're having a good old adventure.
Yeah, it looks beautiful down there. There's a photographer that I follow in New Zealand, and he takes a lot of pictures of their peaks and stuff. And there's some seriously wild places out there, considering really how small that island is and compared to like continents and in different areas of the world. They have quite the biodiversity and diversity of terrain.
Right. So, and speaking of wild places here, with the government shutdown, Yosemite is a little bit of a mess here. So there's been people that have been cited for base jumping. People have been sneaking their dogs into Yosemite. People have been climbing Half Dome without permits. They've been camping without permits. It's dogs and cats living together. It's chaos. It's chaos in Yosemite. But I guess the government is going to turn itself back on and really understand how that whole thing works. But I did see somebody put a video out that they claimed that they think a base jumper actually hit the side of one of the rock formations and may have passed away. They had reported that yesterday. So I haven't seen anything in the news yet, but with the government not being around, I guess people have gotten a little bit bold with Yosemite. So hopefully they're not doing any damage, but it's not a good thing with the rangers not being around to enforce the rules.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yes.
Are you ready for Slasher's Beer Review?
All right, Nick, do you want to move on to gear stuff?
Sure.
Ken, have you bought any new gear recently? Any gadgets or anything cool that you want to share with the listeners?
Not really. The stuff I've got is just kind of old, but right. It keeps on ticking. So
right, yeah, it's basically like you get to that point where you get a REI gift card that sits in your pocket for like a year, and you don't have anything else to buy.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have seen around, and I'll link this article, is there's these different products. There's a couple of different products, I think, that allow you to transfer gas from one gas canister to another. Have you guys seen those before?
I've got one of those.
You've got one.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
All right, so good. You're the guy I want to talk to then. So essentially, my understanding on these is that in order for these to work, so there's a thing called flip fuel, which is one of the transfer devices. So my understanding is that you need to lower the temperature of one of the canisters and then increase the temperature on the canister you want to empty. And you don't have to do that much. You essentially can like leave it out in the sun and get it up to like 80 degrees. And then if you cool off one of the receiving canister and get that down to like say 60 degrees, that's enough of a temperature difference where the gas will transfer. But you also have to be careful not to overload the receiving canister as well. So there's all kinds of risks in this. And this article from Backpack Magazine talks about how this guy blew up his garage and almost killed himself doing this. But I don't know, what has your experience been, Ken?
I've got one of those flip chargers, and basically, it's just sometimes you have canisters that they just start getting empty, and but there's still fuel in there, but you don't want to trust it. You don't want to take it out on an overnighter or whatever. So you can just put it in another one that's, let's say, half empty, and you can just dump that one in that. I think it works okay.
Did you play around with the temperature differentials, or did you just sort of just flip them over and
just did it? I never even saw anything about the temperature differentials.
Okay.
They just said, mount the lighter one on top of the fuller one and just let it perk in.
Okay, yeah, because I guess this guy tried to heat his up somehow. He put it in boiling water, and then when he connected it to the other canister to dump it in there, it just exploded and went through the ceiling of his garage and smashed a bunch of things, and I think he might have got burnt a little bit. So
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, but it's called Flip Fuel, and they basically say don't overdo it when you're filling up the other canister. Take it slow because you don't want to overfill it, because then the pressure can cause problems. They also said you have to be very careful. You can't mix fuel types because that can cause problems. So you got to be careful with these.
Yeah.
So Nick, I may get you this for Christmas.
Thanks, Mike. That'd be very thoughtful of you.
Yeah. And then it comes with instructions for you to boil your canister before you do it. Anyway, so yeah, we'll see how that goes, but maybe that might be in your stocking, Nick. And then next up here for gear, we've got T-Mobile is offering. We might have done the story similar to this. T-Mobile is now offering satellite services with Starlink. So 650 satellites overhead. T-Mobile has a satellite to mobile network built to keep your apps and messages working in places no carrier towers can reach. And so if you want to join T-Mobile, I'm assuming it works with Android and Apple phones. Now, the Verizon service, which I have, does not offer Starlink right now, but it does offer, for newer phones, you can use Global Star, which is a satellite solution. And I actually did this when we did the overnight, Nick, on Kilkenny Ridge. I used this to text my wife, and it worked okay.
Yeah, I think we were talking about if you have one of the Garmin InReach devices, sort of the struggles that you might hit with that, with clear sky cover and maybe not sending text messages immediately.
Right,
kind of run into those same issues, but
exactly. But I do think that we're going to have a future where all of these cell phones companies are going to be connected with Starlink, and you'll have the idea of I lost connection because I have no cell tower. That will go away, and you'll have the option to connect with these Starlink satellites. The only question will be, if you're out in the wilderness, especially in New Hampshire where we are, getting an open view of the sky when you need it, you might have to do a little bit of work.
Yeah, it might be more practical in places where you don't have as dense forests, I think. And it kind of was just poking around too. And you've been kind of calling out the Starlink thing for a while, Mike, but there are a couple competitors. You have HughesNet and Viasat, I think, are the other two big ones that kind of have been around longer than Starlink. But for some reason, I think just with the whole maybe Elon Musk factor and sort of a lot of his companies, Starlink's kind of popular right now. And I think it's really going to come down to how well they can sort of scale and have that bandwidth for people that need it. Because you got to think too, even if you're in the whites and you got Franconia Ridge, and you got maybe a couple hundred people that are all trying to use that Starlink satellite maybe to communicate, you might run into issues. I don't know. I'm totally speaking, just thinking from sort of my software engineering sort of background. But I think it'll be interesting if people start jumping to this as opposed to using cable internet everywhere, or kind of relying on cell towers. And they're I just want to use satellite instead. It might be a pretty big problem.
Yeah, I think that probably Franconia at any one point, you're probably only going to have, you'd never have a scenario where you'd have probably more than 100 people that are connecting with those satellites. And I think that Starlink has built out their clusters now where that's not as big of a deal. When I first bought Starlink for Maine, they would analyze the zip code, and then they would take a look to see how many devices are hitting the satellites. But now at this point, it's basically they built so much redundancy in where I don't think that they can go out of service because they get too many device hits.
Cool. And a quick throwback to make me think of last night with shooting the Northern Lights, but it's amazing how many satellites you'll see in the sky when you're taking long exposure photos. It's kind of crazy. You'll see those Starlink chains, and it's kind of almost unusual to not get something in the sky.
Right.
Pretty wild.
We all know that hiking a mountain can be hard at times. So here's a corny dad joke to help you get over it. Ba-dum-bum.
Right. Ken, how do moths swim? Moths. How do they swim?
I've got no idea.
They use the butterfly stroke. All right. Why did the nurse need a red pen?
I don't know.
In case she needed to draw blood. All right.
Those are good.
What did the football coach say to the broken vending machine? Give me my quarterback. All right. That was a dad joke. I gave 3 dad jokes because we haven't done some in a while here. So,
Get your fill.
But now's the part of the show, Ken. This is a new feature that Nick is a musically inclined. So we've inserted this music minute into the episode so that we can learn a little bit about. So sometimes he does a commercial type of group. Sometimes he does an obscure group. Sometimes he'll do an indie group. So he just picks random people. So
nice.
Why don't you take it away, Nick?
Sure. So I believe last episode we did, I'd pick some sort of indie group that Mike might have grimaced at when I mentioned it because he didn't know who they were. So this week I threw back to the 80s and to a pretty popular album. I think most people my age or older probably know this. So this week's album is Voices Carry by Till Tuesday. Came out in 1985. So the peak of 80s hair and synth and all that good stuff. This was the first album by American new wave rock band Till Tuesday. Voices Carry, the title track and debut single by the band, went to number 8 on the Billboard charts upon release. And the music video for this song also won a MTV Music Video Award for Best New Artist that year. The video was played heavily on MTV, apparently, at the time. And Till Tuesday was fronted by American singer-songwriter Amy Mann. She's one of my faves. She's an alumni of Boston's Berklee College of Music, and the band was actually formed in Boston in the early to mid 1980s, which I did not know until I started digging into this. So maybe that explains why I know I heard them on the radio even growing up and heard the song Voices Carry a bunch. So I'm thinking that probably had a little bit of something to do with it. This album also produced additional singles, not signals, Love in a Vacuum and Looking Over My Shoulder. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. It's probably in top 2,500, whatever you want to call it, depending on the day. Scratches that 80s synth and guitar itch. Mann's vocals are incredible, and she's a pretty darn good bass player as well in this band. Remember hearing this song extensively on the radio growing up. Most people, even my age, kind of know it. Like I've covered it before, and one of my uncles used to cover this all the time. I remember being a kid and playing it on a guitar. So it's kind of one of those songs probably haunting in your childhood memories. If you're in your mid 30s, I'm sure you heard it on the radio.
Yeah, I was listening today because I saw this in the script, and I was listening to some of Till Tuesday's other songs, and she was excellent.
Yeah, good stuff. I thought this album's kind of pretty good front to back. I love Don't Watch Me Bleed, No More Crying. Probably 2 other great songs on there, and then Mann, kind of as Mike mentioned, she's got a lot of other stuff. She's had a really successful solo career collaborating with the likes of Cyndi Lauper, Rush, Elvis Costello. And she's written a few soundtracks for a couple different films as well. So yeah, if you're looking for some 80s, go to Voices Carry.
Yep, good local band in the same vibe as like the Eurythmics. I used to like them back in the day, and
like the Annie Lennox type kind of thing going on.
Thompson Twins and the whole deal. So good pick, Nick. I approve.
Thanks. Thanks.
All right. So now on to a sponsor here. So we've got Bergen in Full Condition. So do you want to read this one, Nick?
Yeah, so Bergen Outdoors makes performance apparel with a purpose, designed and sewn in the heart of the White Mountains and built for those who explore them. Join Bergen at the Full Conditions Winter Kickoff event on November 22nd and grab the limited edition Bergen Full Conditions hoodie with proceeds going directly to support mountain search and rescue. And you can gear up and you can give back at BergenOutdoor.com. So obviously we're really excited for that Full Conditions event coming up. Hope to see a lot of people out there. I think there's still tickets available. Last time I saw, like we got quite a crowd growing. Right. It seems like should be a fantastic night. I'm looking forward to it.
Don't Mike's make me nervous. I'm sweating. I'm sweating out already here, Ken. I'm sweating. So I am going to get a hoodie though. I do like those.
Yeah, the hoodies look awesome.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point where I have a problem. I got 3 of them now, and I'm gonna get a 4th. So.
This is not I don't know if they're necessarily a hiking hoodie. It is kind of funny though. I feel like our group hikes and everybody's got that same Persian Highlander hoodie.
Everyone does.
In different colors.
Yes.
Everybody's got one.
Yeah. All right. So if you want stickers, you can get stickers at Ski Fanatics and Spinners, Pizza Parlor in Andover, Mass. And then if you want to get Slasher swag, this is the time of the year. You can choose between our super popular hoodies, classic or V-neck t-shirts, and more. The color selection's great. Mrs. Stomp picked out all those colors, so she's got great taste, and they are priced to move. So help spread the word about Slasher and Represent today. And then if you want to donate to the show to pay for any equipment or what other nonsense we're up to, then you can do
diapers.
That through diapers, whatever you want. So you can do that through Slasher's Buy Me a Coffee site. So we'll link this in the show notes. And then we want to give a shout out to Freebird 5. Freebird, who gave 5 coffees. So thank you.
Thank you, Freebird.
If you could, next time, if you could pick a username that's a little bit more pronounceable, I'd appreciate it. So
it's actually an exclamation point too there. So if you couldn't tell, Mike was exclaiming the name as well.
Yes, Freebird. So.
Hey, hold my beer. It's time to find out what Mike and Stomp are drinking. On this week's Beer Talk.
All right, now's the part of the show where we'll do beer talk. I am not drinking. I haven't drank since I got pneumonia, but Nick, I don't know, Ken, if I don't know, Ken, I don't know if you're a drinker, or Nick, if you're drinking anything, you can share with the listeners.
I'll let Ken go first.
I'm really not a drinker. I don't do a whole lot of drinking.
Okay.
So I've basically had a sober sort of October going into November now, because I was on meds for the shingles for a while, and then just been taking a break, I guess. So
yeah,
I've got some seltzer, I have Spindrift raspberry lime, and it's quite refreshing.
That sounds good. I've just got water here. I did drink a lot of Mai Tais in Hawaii.
Excellent. As one does.
Yes. Yeah.
I knew we should have gone left back there.
Stomp, don't worry. I know it's this way. I've got a feeling in my gut.
Are you sure you're not about to have a bowel emergency?
Totally. We got this.
But I just blew out my hip. Fell down that gully with my 40-year-old microspikes.
Suck it up, Stomp. It's 4 p.m. We're at 3,500 feet. We got 9 miles back to the parking lot. Your leg may be broken. We got no cell connection, and we can't feel our fingers. But we're finishing all of my list tonight. By the way, I need some water. I'm empty.
I would if I could see what I'm doing, but my headlamp batteries are dead.
You gotta be kidding me. What a chump. This is the last time I hike with you.
Ha, whatever, mister. Do you know me? I have a podcast.
Whatever.
Let's find out what Mike and Stomp have been hiking.
So now's the part of the show where we talk about recent hikes here, Nick. So why don't you go ahead and share with the listeners what you've been up to now that you have two kids here and a little baby? Not much, I'm assuming.
No, not much. While we were playing the waiting game, was hitting Blue Hills with Rylan a bunch. I think we hit it like 4 or 5 times, kind of in the weekends leading up to having our boy. I think we've explored most of sort of the whole main Skyline Trail at this point. And I forgot to put it in the notes, but I'm reminded now reading it. And I sent pictures to you guys, but Rylan and I actually crossed what I'm fairly certain was a copperhead rattlesnake.
Oh, wow.
We saw one sort of curled up in the rocks when we were off trail. Took a picture of it and looked later. And there's a population, I think, of the eastern, is it timber rattlesnakes and copperheads at Blue Hills? There's a very small population, and apparently they're not the most uncommon thing to see. It's not like it was aggressive or anything. I just kind of saw it in the rocks sunning itself and was like, that's quite a large snake. I expect it wasn't a full-grown adult, but by the pattern on its head, I'm pretty sure it was a copperhead. So that was kind of cool, a little scary, I guess. But yeah, and then finally, as you mentioned, it kind of been 2 weeks. Obviously, just been really busy with everything happening. But I did get out to watch you sit on Sunday with Rylan, and did kind of like, I don't know, like a 4 or 5 mile loop, 1,200 feet, something like that. And kind of got out before the rain and stuff. And it's pretty up there in stick season. I kind of like it because you get views through the woods that you wouldn't normally get. So we had fun, and it was very cold and windy, like a lot colder than I thought it was going to be.
How does Rylan do in those conditions?
She did well, other than getting super upset about me making her she actually has a little Persian hat that I got her. She didn't want to wear the hat with her ponytail, so we had to take the ponytail out and put the hat on. Right. Then she didn't want to put the hat on, so we had to put 2 hoods on. So that was kind of a thing, but she did well overall. Put some gloves on her and stuff, and I don't know if she knocked out 600-700 feet in a couple miles. So it's I'm learning it's kind of about keeping her entertained and not pushing it, and kind of putting her in the pack when she wants to go in, even if she gets in for 5 minutes and wants to get out again.
Yeah. Will she be one of those kids where you do like the 4,000 footers when she's like 7 or 8 years old, and me and Ken can barely keep up with her?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure we'll find out. I hope.
Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on that. So, all right. Well, I did a little bit of hiking. I was in Hawaii. I was in India first. I was looking around for options in India, but I was in a city, so there was no options. I did pick up a backpack, though, from India. So I think I talked about that the last episode. But I got a winter backpack that is an Indian brand backpack. So I'll put some pictures up on the Instagram on that, and I'm excited to try it out this winter. It's a 45-liter pack. So, but that's all I did in India. And then when I went to Hawaii, I did one hike in Oahu. I did Mount Olympus, which was like 3,000 feet. I think it's one of the taller mountains in Oahu. I did it solo. It was a muddy mess. Very challenging hike too. Like you hike on these like very narrow trails that are like basically like a knife edge. And all these mountains are in the center of Oahu, Oahu's like the main island where Honolulu is, and very cool beaches. But then when you go inland, it tends to have like the clouds stick to these hills. But luckily when I was there, like the clouds lifted. So I got some really good views of like down into Honolulu. And then I got on the northern side of the island, I got views when I got up to the top of Mount Olympus. But they have these like rope systems not rope systems, but they have these ropes that are tied to these sections where it's super muddy. And you just get like, I was regretting not wearing gloves. But I was solo. I saw like one other guy and he turned around. I think he was like, I'm not feeling this. And you do get to this last section where it's very sketchy. Like you've got a bunch of ropes, and then it's all slick mud, and you have to just bypass this big rutted section. And then eventually you get up to the top, and then the wind hits. But the views were fantastic. And I think Hawaii, it's not my favorite type of hiking. Like it's hot down below and you get kind of sweaty and it's muddy. I prefer New England a little bit over Hawaii, but Mount Olympus was fun. It checked off a box for me, but then I sort of was like, I'm gonna stick to the beach as much as I can. But when we left Oahu, we went to the big island of Hawaii, and we stayed on the west coast, which is a town called Kona. So you have Kona and Hilo, which are the two big towns. Kona is known as the place where the Ironman triathlon is run every year.
Oh, neat.
Which was cool. So like that downtown section had a bunch of triathlons. So it was cool to see like, okay, this is where the triathlon starts. Because I used to watch this on like Wide World of Sports when I was a kid. I would see like where the triathlon runs and everything. So that was fun. But then on the southern part of the Big Island, they have Volcano National Park, which has a couple of sections where there's like active lava flows going. So the week before we got there was an active lava flow in Volcano National Park. And then the week we were there, it was just sort of smoking. But you can see, like, you go into this lodge and then it overlooks this crater. And then the crater, just talk about Mount Doom from like Lord of the Rings. It looks just like that. And you can just see the smoke coming up from the crater. And I guess the week after we left, there was another lava flow that exploded out of this crater. And you can just sit there and watch it. But we actually, when we went, me and Kristen went, or Mrs. Mike, we had an awesome rainbow that just developed right over the crater, which was cool. But we didn't get like the lava flow. But then we did hike down into this old lava crater, which it's very interesting. Like if you look down into these craters, you would think that it's like a muddy floor, But what's actually going on is when you get down there, when this lava erupts and then it hardens, it's basically like blacktop pavement. Is exactly what it is. So you're standing on like just these slabs of what I would call blacktop, and they're smooth as can be, and it just develops over time. And but this one section was an inactive crater, so we were able to walk down into this valley, and then the views were amazing. And then we also hiked through a lava tunnel. So this lava flow had bore a tunnel through, and it's like this big long cave system that you can hike into now.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then
I had two things I just wanted. So one, I thought of Mrs. Mike power washing you down after you showed how muddy that hike was.
Oh yeah.
Like before you got back to a hotel room. And two, on the volcano thing, what was that beach that you went to that you sent pictures to me and Stomp that was like volcanic sand or something? It was like black sand. Like that was wild. Right.
On the way to Volcano National Park, what we did is like we waited until later in the day, because if the lava is going to be visible, you want to be there like when it turns dark. So we left Kona around noontime and then drove down. It's like a 2-hour drive to get to Volcano National Park. And we drove to this black sand beach. And it's like it's this black sand beach, and they have green turtles there that are like just hanging out on the beach. Ooh. So they rope off the turtles. But then the section I was in was like first of all, you can't mess around with the water there. There's so many beaches there that like the surf break at the beach, like if you go in, you're going to get sucked out. And if you don't know how to swim, you will get killed. 3 people died when I was there, and they were all locals.
Wow.
A lot of them were like fishing in their kayaks, and they went missing. So there was 3 people that went missing, and they were locals that knew what they were doing in the water. Like, you cannot mess around. But this particular black sand beach has a little cove, and you could swim, and it's no problem. Like there's really not any waves or no issue or anything like that. So yeah, we basically spent the afternoon on this black sand beach, and you look at it and you think like, okay, it's going to get you like all black and gross, but all it is it's the same sand that you would find in a regular beach, but it's just ground up from the lava over time, and it's just a southern flow of lava that just breaks up this sand, and it's black. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then the last sort of big adventure we did that wasn't beach related, we spent a lot of time like basically going off road to find these like beaches that you can get to in Jeeps, which I loved. But we did go up to Mauna Kea, which is the highest part of the Big Island, and it's the highest peak. So I think it's like 13,800 feet or something. And we didn't hike it; we just drove up. And I would say that was probably like the most underwhelming kind of adventure that we did, honestly, because it's like basically driving up the Mount Washington Auto Road, but much longer. It's like probably, I think, a 16-mile drive as you're going up. And then when you get up to the summit, it's really not like you can, like Mount Washington, where you can look down and feel like, all right, I'm on a mountain. You're really on this like giant tableland, and you can see like the satellite, the telescopes that are there's probably like 15 telescopes that are up there, so it's all kind of blocked up. It's kind of cool. You can see over the edge a little bit that you're above the clouds, but it wasn't that, like, it was just too flat for me. It wasn't like, oh, I'm on a mountain. It's just like I'm really high up. And then like just the logistics of like, you had to drive down, you got to cool the brakes off at 9,000 feet, wait a half hour. It's kind of a pain in the neck. Like, I wouldn't recommend it. And then I was trying to figure out how you hike up it, and I couldn't really get a sense on like where I guess you could park your car at 9,000 feet and hike up to like 14,000 feet. But logistically, it just didn't look like a fun hike. It's like hiking on the moon.
Yeah, I was kind of picturing, I know like you were sending us pictures, and I was picturing, again, like you probably thought like a craggy, like high summit with like kind of tropics around and stuff. But yeah, it's just like it looks like, because it's all volcanic, right? So it's just like a giant dome, more or less, that's been pushed up.
Yeah, it's like you're pulling up to it, you're just hanging out in a parking lot and taking pictures of like the big telescopes, which it's interesting, but I would have rather spent time at the beach.
Yeah.
So, But anyway, that's Hawaii. Definitely would go back. I think I would check out Maui next time and maybe one of the other islands. But I loved Oahu. I thought the Big Island was cool. I would go back to Volcano National Park for sure. But yeah, Hawaii was fun.
Cool. Glad you enjoyed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's time for Slasher's Notable Hike of the Week. If you want to be considered for the Hike of the Week, simply tag Slasher on your social media post.
All right, Ken, we're going to get to you in a second, but right now we're going to do Notable Listener Hikes of the Week here, Nick. So do you want to cover this?
Yeah, sure. We don't have too many. I suspect shoulder season is kind of going back. We did not go back for a month on Instagram. I'm sorry, everybody, if you tagged us. We probably shared you out, but I wasn't going to go through that because it was just too many. But B. Adams Photography, Gray Jays on Mount Liberty. I've never seen a Gray Jay up on Mount Liberty or Flume. Usually I think of them being like the Hancocks, Jackson, Pierce, kind of that area a little bit more. But the seagulls might be finding food up there, I guess. Garrett Lane 14, engagement on Moosalok. For 1 out of 48. So congratulations. That's pretty gutsy. I thought of maybe doing my engagement on a mountain, but I was super paranoid that I'd lose the ring at the time. I remember I was not letting that thing out of my sight, and I'm like, I'm going to fling that thing. So I didn't even want to bring it near water, never mind up a mountain. So cool. Congrats. Our buddy Andy, Summit Snack Attack, sunrise on Kearsarge North. And it looked like he did it on very little sleep. Looked beautiful. That tower up there is just quite the spot. It looks like he caught quite a heck of a sunrise up there. Nice job, Andy. Megs 0682, change of plans due to weather, and they ended up on Mount Stinson. So the nice 52th view peak down in Rumney. For some reason, I've done that one like 4 or 5 times. Always a good view out into sort of kind of Newfound Lake area, Tenny Mountain. Right. Kind of see across to Winnipesaukee a bit, but it's pretty. Usually not a lot of people over there either. B. Adams Photography hit us up again for views on Camel's Hump. Camel's Hump, great, and the only undeveloped Vermont peak. We were talking about sort of ski development earlier. Arlo the Beagle, Mike's buddy.
I love Arlo.
Bald Peak for 37 out of 52 of the view. Bald Peak new to the 52 of the view list. And this is the one going back up the side of the Kinsmans that we were talking about, I believe, on last week's episode with the So You Wanna. So any favorites, guys?
I say you got to go. I love Arlo. I love the dog, but I think you got to go with Garrett Lane for the engagement here. And then maybe Ken, maybe you could do the wedding ceremony for them.
Yeah, I could, especially if it's on a smaller peak.
Right. Yeah. You know, a Bald Peak would be perfect, actually.
That'd be perfect.
Get up there, no problem. So, but yeah, congratulations for the engagement. So, if you need any advice, reach out to the three of us. We all have various levels of experience with marriages here that we can hopefully give you some advice. I say travel a lot. Carve out time for travel. So.
It's time for Slasher's Guest of the Week. Very cool. Very cool.
Ken, this is your moment. This is your time. Are you ready to go? Are you ready to answer some questions?
Absolutely.
All right. So you've got your 4th book that you've written. They Said It's Dangerous. This is Hiking on the White Mountains in New Hampshire. In this, you detail everything from bugs to bears to plants to people and injuries to even to the goons that you call the people that you hike with goons, which I know some of these guys, and I think that's a fair description.
Deserved, yeah.
Right, deserved. And then all the profits for this will go to the New Hampshire Outdoor Council, which oversees contributions to New Hampshire Search and Rescue. And the book can be found at Amazon. It can be found at REI in North Conway and the Mountain Wanderer bookstore in Lincoln. So whether you're a hiker or not, you will be humorously entertained by Ken's stories of hiking in New Hampshire. This is a great stocking stuffer and a great idea for any hiker for Christmas.
So,
absolutely.
That's pretty good. So with the plugs out of the way, why don't you can you give us any inside info, or without spoiling too much of it, what should we expect from this one?
Well, here's a picture of the cover.
Oh, I wanted to ask about this. Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually got a funny story. There's a friend I know hiking, and I mentioned to him that I was trying to have the cover be a collage of different kind of crazy things, like people approaching wild animals or a helicopter, lifting a injured hiker off a mountain. And so he said, well, my wife was injured and needed a carry out. He goes, I can send you a couple of pictures. I'm like, great. And we just could not make that work. We just couldn't get the collage to work. So I just pointed at that picture and I said, put it on the cover.
Right.
And so, because my wife was doing some of the editing, and so we did. And then she never knew about that until she saw the cover. And then she
surprise.
She's like, I'm famous.
There you go. Just like that, instant fame. But it was pretty funny. She was good with it, great sense of humor. But yeah, it was just, I was just thinking about doing another book. People pester me like, they want another book. Right. And I'll tell you what, it is just a boatload of work to write a book and put it together. But I really like this one because I think it's more polished than the other ones. I think I've definitely become a better writer. And I think it's probably one of the funnier ones, again, if you like that whole six-year-old bathroom humor and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, I just figured like I needed a spin, and I thought, well, I'm just going to focus in on like the dangers. So there's a chapter in there just about plants. The dangers of the plants. Is a chapter in there about the insects. Chapter in there about the animals. I start off by size, like the smallest animal, and go all the way up to the largest animal.
Right.
And it's all just really funny stuff.
Nice. Did you feel like you had to get back out there and do a bunch of hiking in order to refresh your memory, or did you have enough, I guess, memories stored in your tank that you didn't have to get out there that much?
Well, it was a combination of both. I mean, I'm always doing a lot of hiking. I try to get out like once a week at least, and so I've always been doing a lot of hiking. So I had some pretty good stories. I'm at the age now where I injure myself really easy. The knees are not great.
Yeah.
But I had some really kind of weird injuries with bad fitting footwear. Just really, I mangled up my right foot on the Kinsman's. And then I mangled up, no, I take that back. I mangled up my right foot going up Liberty. And down Liberty, and I mangled up my left foot on the Kinsman's with two different pairs of boots that didn't fit well. And so when you're ripping flesh off of your shins, and you still have 3 miles to come down, North Kinsman, what do you do, right? What do you do? I mean, I've never felt so much pain in all my life, but you got to get down,
right?
So you just suck it up and keep on hiking.
Yeah. The process of writing, so this is your fourth book, obviously, like you said, you become a better writer. Is it faster to write now, or is it still like a process for you, similar to when you began?
It's still a little bit of a process. I've learned how to write more creatively rather than just telling all the facts of a story, to kind of put some twists and turns in it to hook the reader into the story. Start off with like a little line that doesn't make sense, but it gets their mind thinking about who is this and where is this and what's going on and all this kind of thing. And then as the story progresses, those answers get, those questions rather get answers to them. So it was a little bit, some of it was hikes that I had done prior to actually saying I'm going to do another book, but they were pretty vivid in my mind because things happened that were either catastrophes or there was things that happened that were really, really funny. And then a lot of it was while I was writing the book, I was still hiking and I was still putting together some hikes that I knew would be classic hikes. There's the hiker babes. I hiked with the hiker babes again.
Yes.
And yeah.
They let you back after the second time.
They did. They let me back. As a matter of fact, they let me back, and then we all went to the Reckless and I did the comedy that night. So that was last year, I think, at the Reckless Brewery.
Right. Okay.
And then there was this gal that reached out to me. She, because I live really close to Pawtuckaway Park, and she comes and stays with friends at Pawtuckaway Park, and so she had been reading my first book, bought all 3 of them. Thought, was having a blast, laughing her head off. And she said, would you be willing to meet me? And I said, sure, because it's right around the corner, Pawtucket Park. Well, actually, they lived on the lake. And so I went and met with her and her husband and the couple that she was staying with. Delightful, delightful people. And she told me how she is an 11-year pancreatic cancer survivor.
Wow. It's a miracle. That's one of the worst types of cancer. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so she was kind of, giving cancer the what for by doing the 48 4,000 footers. And I think she only had like 20 left or something like that. And so then when I met her, she says, like, would you hike with me and my friend Lori? And I'm like, this is going in the book right off the bat. I can tell you right now. So, and we had a blast. It was a great hike. She knocked 2 more off because they did North and South Kinsman. So she knocked 2 off her list. And it was just a lot of fun. And a lot of the hikes just turned out that way. I met a couple of other gals and I did a couple of hikes with them actually. And I talked them into doing a sunset hike up North Kearsarge. You were just talking about North Kearsarge.
Yep.
And that was pretty funny because the whole way up, it was so overcast. It actually started spitting snow. It was just a winter hike. It started spitting snow and they were like, what a crappy, afternoon. But I had done a little research and they said that there was going to be a really awesome sunset. And we just literally right when we got there, you could see the overcast and then there was just a gap. And the sun came down through that gap and just lit everything up. It was really
amazing.
It was spectacular,
Yeah.
And of course, I'm having a lot of fun because I make fun of everything and I'm picking on people all the time, and it's always humorous.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes those sunsets are the sky views where you've got just the sun popping through the clouds, especially in winter conditions. Like sometimes that can be even cooler than those bluebird days to me. Just the contrast with the sun and the clouds.
Yeah, it was. It was really a great hike. All in all, it was a great hike. Yeah.
And then with your regular crew of folks that you hike with, is there any of them give you any good material to pick on them this time around?
I mean, yeah. So like in the first 3 books, there was myself, Dave Salois, Ian Kenny, and Keith Tilton.
Yep.
And so they're the goons officially. But Dave just went into this hyper workout mode and just launched himself in a different category of climber.
Right.
So he's like, higher, faster, more peaks,
he's been joining our crew a little bit too. We've been pushing it a little bit, but yeah, he's been great.
I did not realize it was that Dave at all. He was actually on my Winter 48 finish on the Bonds. He joined us, and I did not realize it was that. I'm like, oh, we hiked with. There was a famous Dave. I didn't realize it was that Dave.
Yeah, or the infamous Dave.
Small world.
Yeah. So it was kind of like I hiked with one here, one there. I did a lot of hiking with Ian, but then Keith. I did a couple hikes with Keith, and he really started struggling breathing. And then we were just doing Mount Roberts in Moultonborough, I think it is. And we got up to that first overview, which I don't know, maybe is a third of a mile. And I mean, I thought the guy was having a heart attack, like he couldn't breathe. Oh, wow. So we turned around, we were snowshoeing. We turned around and came out. And I mean, I found out all he had was walking pneumonia. I mean, but he was out of it for quite a while with that. And then he developed a blood clot in his calf. And so he was out, for a while.
Gosh.
So it was kind of like, so the one time we got together, actually Dave and Ian and I got together and we were going to do South Moat. And the day before, it just nuked rain. And like, I don't like being on wet rock. I've fallen so many times on wet rock. And it's interesting because whenever you look at a lot of the rescues that take place, there are always lower leg injuries that happen off of wet rock. Somebody slipped and busted an ankle or a leg or something. And so like we started hiking and, it was a good hike. It was an okay hike. But then when we got to that bad slab rock, I mean, the water was just cascading down it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty clumsy. I mean, I'm pretty clumsy. Like if I slip, I'm going to go down. Dave is like a cat. He's so nimble. Like he would, if I was in the situations that he was in, I would be falling. And he somehow counter moves and runs off the mountain.
He's a big guy too. To move like a cat. So
yeah. He's really in good athletic condition.
Surprisingly agile.
Yeah. He is surprised. Yeah. And I'm not. He always makes fun of me because he says, you're clumsy. You're like one of the clumsiest hikers I've ever seen. And I'm not going to deny it. But so there were some great stories. We did Eisenhower, Edmonds Pass up to Eisenhower. me and another guy from the church, and it was 10 o'clock, and we're sitting there just enjoying it. And I looked over and saw Monroe, and I said, "Hey, we just go over and bag Monroe over here." And so we did, and hit all the other ones there too. What is it, Little Monroe, and then another presidential that's there. Is it
Franklin?
Franklin, yeah,
it's not a president, but
yeah, just hit all those little peaks, and that was a class. It was a classic. So all these stories are really funny, and they're all in the book. So I hope everybody enjoys it. I'll tell you, this book has blown up because there's a lot of people in this book. Like, I would just be hiking. I was on Mount Israel. I met a couple of guys. We just started yakking. They were just starting to work through the 52 of the View. I took their picture and I said, you guys are going to be my book. And so things like that have gotten, like, I'm having people buy like 15 copies at a time, getting in touch with me so I can sign all of them, and then they're giving them out. They're going to probably give them out as Christmas gifts or something.
Right.
And so it's been fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, so the theme of this one, you said it's dangerous. So we've always said, part of the mission of the podcast is to sort of raise the awareness around safety. And, we talked about this Mount Washington situation here. And I think I love that you give the message of safety with humor, and we try to do the same thing here. But you've been watching this hiking world for a long time, the same way that we have. And it seems like it doesn't necessarily always get better, but I do feel like, just engaging with people on a hike sometimes, like, you can get them a little bit more familiar with it. But I don't know. Do you think that the book can solve some of these problems, or are we just going to be perpetually just trying to get people to be aware of the dangers out there?
I think because it's always attracting new people every year, you're always going to have those inexperienced that probably don't even know where to look for weather reports or gear or anything like that. I think that's probably something that's going to really be hard to break. But I hope the book helps. I mean, there's a lot of humor in there, but there's also like a lot of warnings as far as, I'm making fun of a lot of things that are dangerous, but then there are some things that are really dangerous that you need to, pay attention to. I actually reached out to Lieutenant Nealon. And I asked him if he would kind of do an interview. So I sent him, I sent him like maybe about a dozen questions, and then he answered them. And that's a great article there, because I tell him, like, what would be your greatest advice for somebody that's just starting? And he addressed that. And I said, what would you tell somebody if they ever get lost? And he addressed that. So there's some really good stuff in there, as well as, and it's all just shrouded in a lot of humor. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate the work that you've done. So this is the fourth book. So just to run down these books, the first one was They Said It Would Be Fun, a hilarious journey learning to hike the New Hampshire 48. So that was the 4,000 footers. Then the next book was They Said They Wanted More, a hilarious journey hiking the New Hampshire 52 with a View. So you did, you're doing the progression. And then the next book was They Said Teach Us More, solos, winter hiking, and overnighters. We're getting into the winter stuff and the backpacking. And now book number 4 is They Said It's Dangerous. So, yeah. It's a pretty good resume.
Yeah. I've met so many wonderful people. I've got a tagline that makes the goons roll their eyes whenever we're hiking. As soon as I run into somebody, and I'll just ask them, "Hey, do you hike a lot?" And, they'll say, "Yeah." And so I say, "Well, have you ever read the book They Said It's Been Fun?" And so that just starts a conversation. And a lot of people have, some haven't. And I actually have some little booklets that I carry in my backpack that have a sticker on it with a picture of the book and a QR code right to Amazon.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
So I give it to them. And as a matter of fact, I met two ladies on Pemigewasset just a couple of weeks ago. And the lady, one lady said, she goes, "I've never read your book." She goes, "But I think I heard you on the SLASRPodcast."
Nice.
And so, I've done a podcast. I said, as a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to do another one in a couple of weeks. So hopefully she's listening.
That's great. That's great. Who we need to hook you up with is our friend Dave Shits in the Woods, because he's always up to shenanigans. He's the one that put rocks in my backpack when I wasn't paying attention.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
I got your back, Dave. Don't worry.
Yeah. So, but that's the type of dangerous things that I've been faced with out on trail, Ken, over the years.
Yeah. It's mostly the people you hike with. You got to watch out for them all the time.
Right.
All the time.
With friends like that, who needs enemies, right?
Yeah.
I like too how your books sort of do follow this sort of arching narrative of kind of like a lot of people's hiking journey, where you're doing the 48 and then you start doing the 52 with a view, and then you get into winter hiking, and kind of like I really enjoyed that. And I wanted to shout out too, like there's been a few times where your books have just made me completely laugh out loud while I'm reading them. And one that sticks out to me that I'll call out to people all the time, and I'm probably misquoting it, but I think you mentioned like I think it's in the first book, but you like call driving up Route 16 to Conway like a veritable colonoscopy or something like that, and that line always gets me. And I just, because anybody that's done that drive even in the morning, it seems like you could be driving at 4 a.m. and there's someone going like 20 or 30, or there's people going like 80 with like ski mobiles by you. It's always like a thing, and I'm like, man, he hit the nail on the head so hard with that. But you just have all these little sort of anecdotes, and obviously it's super informational, and you can learn a lot reading it too. But I think you do it in a very entertaining way, in a very memorable way.
Yeah,
and thanks for giving me some laughs.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I just love being in the woods. You know, like I tell people, I can do a 4,000 footer, or I can just go in Pawtuckaway, and they're both just as enjoyable to me. I just love being in the woods. But when I heard you say that you actually saw a venomous snake, I was like ready to say, Darlene, put my gear on Marketplace. I'm done.
Yeah, apparently just in that Blue Hills area. I think there's a couple areas in Western Mass maybe, but there is a very small population there. I had to do my homework, but yeah.
I even see those little, like, what do they call it? Garter snake. I don't even like those. So,
I'm not a fan of any snake.
Not a fan at all. But so Ken, we will need to get out. So with Dave's connection, so we do this little trip up to the Zealand hut overnight. So we could definitely have you travel along. Last time I had to carry my own rotisserie chicken into the hut with me, but maybe you could carry my rotisserie chicken.
Sure. Why not? Why not?
So we'll have to get
I'll say, like you talked about your friends, and we did an overnighter once, me, Ian, and Dave. And we stopped off at Subway, and we all bought these subs and sodas and things like that. And we had a great time. You know, we sat around, ate, watched the satellites go by. They're everywhere. It's crazy. And then the next morning I wake up and all their trash is in my backpack right next to my head.
That's a good one.
Right next to my head. You know, an Italian sandwich, a bear could probably smell from 5 miles away, right? Yep.
Well, like you said, with friends like that, who needs enemies?
That's right. That's right.
All right. So then why don't you remind the listeners again, if they want to buy the book, they said it's dangerous, how can they get it?
Sure. You can go right to Amazon. Just type in either the title or my name, Ken Bosse, or you can go to REI in North Conway. Ryan Shepard there is a great guy. Or you can go to The Mountain Wanderer. I forgot his last name, but the owner, his first name is Forrest, and
Forrest Chess.
Forrest Chess, right? And he's going to continue the saga of selling my books, which I really appreciate. And congratulations to him, by the way, for keeping The Mountain Wanderer open and keeping it going. Excited about that.
Awesome. Yeah. And we will, we'll put the links in the show notes as well, and then put this out over our social so people can check it out. But now's the time of the year because, Christmas is coming up, and definitely get your friends, this book so that, or your loved ones, this book so that you can use it as a stocking stuffer, or just give it to them over Thanksgiving so they have something to read before Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Friday, I want to say it's December 5th. It's the first Saturday in December. I'm going to be doing a book signing at REI in Conway, North Conway. Nice. So if anyone wants to, buy a book and get it signed, I'll be there.
Yeah. Send us the exact date and time, and then we can also put that out over our show notes.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear from Ryan on the time, but the date will be, it's actually going to be the 6th.
Okay. Perfect.
That Saturday, December 6th.
Perfect.
And actually, and if people have, book 1, 2, or 3, and they want to bring them in and have me sign those too, I'd be more than glad to do that.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, Ken, and we appreciate everything you're doing. And again, like to donate, you could be buying your own trip to Hawaii with the profits from this book, but instead, you being the nice guy that you are, you're donating this to the New Hampshire Outdoor Council. So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of money that's gone in with all 4 books. Obviously, by now, there's a lot of money that's gone in. And my hope is that if I ever need a rescue, they'll be very kind to me.
Right. So, and then when we read off, like we're going to do right now, we read off the press release, we'll be kind to you as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So we're going to move on to the search and rescue news here, and we got to catch up on a bunch of things here. So, and you can stick around, Ken, and give your color commentary and opinions on these.
Sure.
But Nick, why don't you start off, and then we'll rotate on these ones. So we got about 10 of them.
Yeah, it sounds good. Overall my thoughts were like didn't seem too bad. Considering it's been like a month. Basically, we're recapping as far as search and rescues, excluding that sort of catastrophe up on Mount Washington that day. But yeah, so we'll kick off. So this was back on October 1st. We've got injured hiker carried off the Welch Dickey Trail in Thornton. So approximately 5 p.m. Wednesday, October 1st, Fish and Game got a call from a hiker who had fallen while hiking the Welch Dickey Loop Trail in Thornton. Hiker had a leg injury. Call out those lower leg injuries, Ken, earlier.
Yeah.
And was unable to hike down the trail. Conservation officers, volunteers, and Pemmy Valley Search and Rescue Team, members of Campton, Thornton, and Waterville Valley Fire Departments responded to the trailhead. So the rescuers hiked up and located the 61-year-old from Texas, about 2.2 miles from the trailhead. So she must have been just about midway through the loop, I think. That would put you out over there. Rescuers placed the injured hiker in a litter and carried them 2.2 miles back down to the trailhead. So yeah, halfway, arriving at 8:05 p.m. So a pretty quick turnaround time on that one. It looked like they got there really quick. The hiker was transported to Littleton Regional Hospital for further medical treatment. And just mentioned that the hiker and her husband had been hiking the Welch Dickey Loop Trail when the injury occurred, and they were well prepared for the day, extra food, water, clothing, and they also had headlamps. So good on them. Unfortunate they slipped, but they were well prepared.
Not bad. That's right in that's Stomp's neighborhood. They could get a personal rescue from Stomp here.
Yeah, which might be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you feel about it.
Another one in Stomp's neighborhood here. So we've got a rescue that happened on October 4th, which is a Saturday. This was on outside of Livermore on Mount Osceola. So unfortunately, this hiker lower leg injury, but they were like 3 miles in from the trailhead, which is not great. So they were, I guess, they put in the call around 3:30, and then by about 4:30, the first rescue was started up the trail, but they really didn't reach this hiker until about 6 o'clock. And then by the time they got everybody together on trail, they got her into the litter around 6:30, and they had about 20 people on this carry out. So I haven't been, honestly, I haven't not been. Every time I've ever done the Osceolas, I've come up from the Greeley Pond side and came up from the Kank and done like out and back. So I've never gone down that trail over to Livermore, but my understanding is it's pretty gradual. So
it is, but I remember there being, and again, I've only done that side. I've only done the Osceolas twice. I've only done that side once, and it was a while back. But I remember the bottom of that being pretty bouldery and rocky. And then I think there's a section where you kind of got these like awkward side hill sort of ledges that you got to contend with.
Yeah.
So it is more gradual. I think it sort of follows that natural ridge going up to Osceola, but might get a little bit more wear. Not that the other side going up from the Kank is any easier. That's basically like a vertical.
That's very steep. That's very steep. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so 28-year-old hiker from Boston, and so they got her rolling in the litter around 6:30, but they didn't get back to the trailhead until about 10:15. So a little over 4 hours, or a little under 4 hours. And then they loaded her up on an ambulance from the Waterville Valley Department of Safety and sent her off to the hospital. So all's well that ends well, but that's a long night for sure.
Yeah. All right. So next we're back over to Mount Washington, October 5th. So on the evening of Sunday, October 5th, New Hampshire Fish and Game COs responded to Mount Washington to assist a youth hiker who had injured her lower leg and was slowly making her way down the mountain. So the call for help was received at 7:40 p.m., with conservation officers being notified that the 14-year-old hiker was slowly making her way down a service trail adjacent to the Cog Railway tracks. Imagine it's just that trail that kind of develops along the side of the tracks in the winter, and people use it in the summer as well. Officers were able to speak with her hiking companion, who advised that they were safe but going very slowly. At this time, the hikers were still approximately 2 miles up the mountain from the base station of the Cog Railway, which I think it's only like 2.5-ish miles in general, right? going up Mount Washington
maybe
that way.
a little longer than that. So I'd be curious to know if they put lights on at night so that like hikers can see down or not. But yeah, it may be a little bit longer, but not much more than 2.5.
Yeah, so there's still 2 miles up the mountain from the base station of the COG. Due to the distance involved in the unknown extent of the injury, a rescue effort was initiated. By 9:20 p.m., 2 conservation officers traveled up the COG Railway Service Road on ATVs. At approximately 9:45 p.m., contact was made with the hikers. Both individuals were given rides back down the mountain and arrived safely at the roadside at 10:15 p.m. And just mentions that the hiker that was injured declined evaluation by the ambulance staff, but was advised to seek medical consultation once they got home. So Fish and Game just shouting out, like, you just make sure you're prepared in darkness and understand Mount Washington's it's an undertaking, even by a short hike.
Excellent. All right. So this next one was on October 7th, which is a Tuesday. This was a 79-year-old hiker from Peterborough, was on Mount Monadnock. I guess she suffered multiple injuries from a fall. It doesn't say whether they were lower leg injury or what the story is, but Fish and Game got the call around 1:15. She was on the Dublin Trail, and medical personnel were able to get up to her. I guess Dublin Fire Department, Jaffrey Fire Department, and the Dublin police chief and conservation officers all got to her. And after receiving medical attention, she was able to walk under her own power with assistance to the trailhead at Old Troy Road. And she got out around 2:15. So about an hour from the call. They said that she was a very experienced hiker and that just an unfortunate incident, and she will live to hike another day.
That's a really nice approach from Monadnock. I did that a while back. I think like sort of the northern approach, you can sort of see kind of Monadnock rising up in front of you as you come from it. I think it's a little bit longer than some of the other trails.
Yeah, I've never done that trail. I have it on my to-do list, but I just haven't got to that one yet.
I had a nasty fall on that trail.
Really?
Oh, really?
Nasty, yeah. We went up and it was okay. It started raining on the summit and there's so wet rock, coming down. And I was being really, really careful. And then I started like testing the grip on my boots and I'm like, this is really, really good. Next 2 steps, gone.
Boom. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's funny, like between Kearsarge North, South Moat, Monadnock, they all have those slabs. Like maybe that's the answer is you anything that's slabby, you just got to stay away from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but also rain, gotta wait. Pick your moment for a dry time. So,
yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of slabs, also on October 7th, injured hiker rescued from Dickey Mountain in Thornton. Yeah. So it's this was just me noticing copy pasting links, but it's interesting that it looks like Fish and Game because of how they do the links. They have to like name these things slightly differently just so they're different headlines. But Tuesday, October 7th, 6:10 p.m., Fish and Game conservation officers were made aware of an injured hiker on the Dickey Mountain Trail in Thornton. Hiker suffered a leg injury that prevented him from continuing without assistance. Members of Campton Thornton Fire Department, conservation officers, and volunteers from PEMI SAR responded to the trailhead. By 7:10 p.m., the first rescuers made it to the injured hiker, located 1.2 miles from the trailhead, so not quite halfway, but definitely up in those ledges. At 8:10 p.m., the carryout commenced with over 20 rescuers participating in the rescue. Aided by the use of a rescue wheel that attaches to the litter, the team made good time to the trailhead, arriving at 9:10 p.m. The injured hiker was identified as a 47-year-old from Thornton and was transported to the Campton Thornton Fire Department from the Campton Thornton Fire Department to Spear Memorial Hospital for evaluation and treatment. So another Welch Dickey one with that ledge. It gets people and it can be pretty nasty.
Stay away from the slabs, I guess, is the theme here.
Yeah, one wet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this next one is actually a fatality, unfortunately. So this happened on October 9th, which would be a Thursday. Around noontime, Fish and Game was notified of a hiker on the Kilburn Trail. So this is Pisgah State Park, which I think is up north by Nash Stream in that area. Is that correct?
I think it's off to the west more.
Yeah.
Quick Google.
I think I'll have to do a little bit of research. I think it is. It is to the west, but I think it's up north.
Yeah, it's like east. It's like east of Brattleboro. Actually, it's like more sort of. It's west of Monadnock, basically.
Okay.
Sort of between, kind of towards the Brattleboro side. So kind of that back western corner of New Hampshire.
Okay. All right. Well, This hiker was on the Kilburn Trail in the town of Hinsdale and collapsed while hiking back to the trailhead. It was a sudden medical emergency. They were with a hiking companion that was immediately able to conduct some life-saving measures, but unfortunately, by the time Hinsdale Fire Department and various other fire departments and conservation officers from Fish and Game arrived, there was, even though they were doing life-saving measures, despite the rescuers' efforts, the hiker did pass, unfortunately. So no details on the hiker at this time, but unfortunately that does happen. So listen to your body when you feel like you're not feeling it. If there's breathing issues or chest pains or anything like that, shut it down and try to get down if you can.
Yeah. So October 13th, back to sort of Franconia Notch and the Whites. Injured hiker rescued on Basin Cascade Trail. Approximately 2:30 p.m. on October 13th, New Hampshire Fish and Game was notified of an injured hiker on the Basin Cascade Trail in Lincoln. The hiker was identified as a 53-year-old from Belmont, Mass, and was hiking down the Basin Cascade Trail when she slipped and fell, injuring her leg. So all these are basically lower leg injuries this time of year between the wet, and you got the wet leaves too going on, which does not help things. Due to her injury, the hiker was unable to walk and required a carryout, so not a great situation. Volunteers from Pemi Valley Search and Rescue Team and conservation officers responded to the trailhead for the carryout. Rescuers hiked up to the hiker's location and packaged her in a litter, and then she was subsequently carried down trail to a waiting Linwood ambulance, arriving at 4:30 p.m. So pretty quick. I'm curious how far she was in. I would have thought it would take longer than 2 hours to get her down, but that seems very quick. So nice job to the search and rescue teams. The hiker was transported by Linwood ambulance to Littleton Hospital for further treatment for her injury. So yeah, it's just all lower. We'll see how the rest of these are, but just a lot of lower leg injuries.
Right.
Those leaves are nasty. I rolled my ankle just running around here because the pothole was covered up about a week and a half ago. It's tough.
Yeah, a lot of leaves.
Yeah. Well, stop me if you've heard this one before. We got another lower leg injury on October 18th. So this is on the UNH trail, and this is Hedgehog. So Hedgehog, Potash, Champney Falls, Saturday Fall, like that whole area of the Kank is the worst place to get injured because there's absolutely no cell phone connection. I can't tell you how many times we've done stories where people had to do exactly what these people had to do. So basically around 2:00 in the afternoon, this late 39-year-old hiker from Chelmsford, Mass, she sustained an ankle injury. And unfortunately, when you're in that situation, this is why we talked about like the satellite cell phone connectivity. Like the more you can get that, the better it is, because this area off the Kank is the worst place that you could possibly get injured because there is no cell phone connection. And the only way that you can get a connection is to drive down the Kank to get to Conway. You don't get a cell phone connection until you get to that light at Conway, and then suddenly you get. So that's what this hiker's companion had to do, and then that activated Lakes Region Search and Rescue and the conservation officers. So 2:00, the companion got in the car, headed back out, and finally got to a place where they could call the conservation officers. And then by that time, Lakes Region and the conservation officers got to the hiker by 4:00, and then they were able to carry her back out around 5:30. But yeah, this area here is just like the Bermuda Triangle of cell connections.
Yeah, it's not great there. I mean, we were actually in there even like last November, and I was kind of surprised where, there's nothing really. Once you get past, it seems like once you get past sort of maybe even like the Hancock sort of hairpin, there's just not great service throughout that whole stretch of the Kank. It's not really reliable unless you're kind of get up in mountaintops, maybe on the Hancocks or something like that. You have it, but not much there.
Hedgehog's a great hike. It's just
it's beautiful.
You're on a tightrope without a net if something happens.
Yeah. Right, so October 19th, we've got unprepared hiker rescued from Franconia Ridge in Lincoln. So approximately 6:03 p.m. on Sunday, October 19th, Fish and Game received a call for a hiker who was unprepared and requesting help near the summit of Little Haystack. So a call was made to the hiker, who was identified as a 23-year-old from East Hampstead, New Hampshire. And he was on the Franconia Ridge Trail above tree line at the time of the call. He explained that he was not prepared and needed help getting down, and I imagine it was pretty dark by that point too, even before the time change, or getting pretty close. So he must have realized he wasn't going to make it down. And he did not have water, food, or light, so not great. And with temperatures dropping and a storm system moving in, the conservation officers elected to go up and get the hiker. So 8:14 p.m., the conservation officers located the hiker just below the summit of Little Haystack on the Falling Waters Trail. He was given food, water, and a light and assisted down the trail to the parking lot, arriving at approximately 9:50 p.m. So that's actually pretty quick getting down there. Maybe the impending weather might have put a quick pace in their step, would be my guess. The hiker explained that he had not planned on a long hike and was not prepared to be out as long as he was. So he was otherwise uninjured and cleared to the trailhead after rescue. And they did mention that he will be charged for the cost of the rescue. So he was evaluated as completely negligent for his own actions. And I mean, this is the class. It happens, I think, probably more than we hear about, because I'm sure you get other hikers that help people. But people don't realize getting right off 93 there that you're going into a full alpine environment. You're at the complete mercy of any weather front really moving in from the west. It's going to hit Franconia Ridge is the highest thing it hits before it even hits the presidential range. And if you don't have a light and sun's falling down, you're not familiar with the terrain. And also, Falling Water is not a cakewalk to come down if it's wet and slippery and covered in leaves either. So, got to be careful.
And I would just like to point out, this was a New Hampshire resident, not a Massachusetts resident.
I wasn't going to call that out, but it was notable.
Are we going to go there? Really? Are we going to go there? Right
I have to defend my massholes. So
we're just stating the facts here.
Listen, it
was mentioned in the story.
It happens so rarely, Ken, that I have to call it out. So
that's good.
Anyway, but and then so fast forwarding a week later, we're back to Franconia Ridge, Nick. This one's on Saturday, October 25th. So this was a late night rescue. So the call came in around 10:30 at night. This is a 17-year-old on Old Bridle, so I'm assuming he was coming down from Old Bridle. Probably had a long day. So I guess he had suffered a leg injury after slipping on a wet section of trail. Injury prevented him from continuing without assistance. So conservation officers in Pemmy Valley Search and Rescue responded. So they got the call at 10:30. They get there by 11 and start heading up the trail. They reach the hiker at 11:45, about a mile and a half, 2 miles from the trailhead. So, probably I would assume up by like the hairpin turns, maybe below the Agonies, which is a better spot to get to. And then they had about 20 rescuers. They use this like rescue wheel, which is like this single wheel that will attach to the litter to make the carry a little bit easier. They ended up getting him out around 1:30. 17-year-old kid, his family met him at the trailhead, and they took him to get his injuries evaluated. And the rangers did encounter snow at higher elevations, making the trails pretty slick. So, but all's well that ends well. 17-year-old kid. I don't know what the background is, why he was out there so late, but they just basically said in the notes here to be prepared for wet conditions and slick conditions.
Yeah, it's tough this time of year too when you get that dusting or sort of slushy snow up high and there's not really enough of a snowpack for your spikes or anything to dig into, or maybe not even enough packed ice for spikes to be helpful. So you're kind of in this awkward in between where the footing kind of just sucks and you kind of just have to deal with it, or maybe beat some old rock spikes up. So rounding this out, we've got on November 8th, a pretty recent hiker call on Black Angel Trail. So Black Angel Trail out sort of in the Wild River Wilderness. I think it meets up to Carter Dome Trail, if I'm recalling correctly.
I think so, yeah. It connects like Bald Faces to Carter Dome somehow.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a really nice trail. Again, like Michael said, it's on my list. Hiker call on Black Angel Trail. So Saturday, November 8th, approximately 5 p.m., Fish and Game was notified of a lost hiker on the Black Angel Trail. The hiker was identified as a 52-year-old from Hoboken, New Jersey. And he had been attempting to hike the Bald-Face Loop with his teenage son when they took a wrong turn and ended up several miles out on the Black Angel Trail without a flashlight or a headlamp. So that is quite a navigational error to end up going through the Wild River Wilderness from the Bald Faces up to the backside of, though it doesn't say where they were, I guess, on Black Angel Trail, but still. So the hiker had cell phone with plenty of battery life, but due to the remote location was unsure if they could make it out before the cell phone battery died. So maybe they kind of had a map they were following at that point and kind of were worried that they were going to lose it. So they were instructed to continue toward the Basin Trail, a distance of 3 miles out, and the shortest route out, while a small team of rescuers consisting of conservation officers and volunteers from SAR responded to the Basin Trail in Chatham to assist them. So by the time the rescuers started in on the Basin Trail, the hiker and his son had made it to within a few hundred yards of the trailhead. They were given a courtesy ride back to the vehicle, which is parked at the Bald-Faced Trailhead. They're just mentioned here that it's a good reminder to always bring a spare headlamp. I think Mike's motto is 2 headlamps is 1 headlamp, or something. I'm saying that incorrectly, I think.
I think that's right. That sounds
something like that.
Yeah.
Something like have 2 headlamps, have a backup. Yeah. And yeah, just make sure you have extra batteries. So you're kind of able to navigate out. I think too, I was listening to not a hiking podcast, but a podcast this week where people kind of just call and show type situation, and it was a search and rescue. And it's amazing how many people think that like they're going to get evacuated with a helicopter or something. But you gotta realize, like, Fish and Game or anybody, they're going to make you hike out on your own if you're able to, even if it's with a map or something. Like they're only going to go in sort of as a last ditch effort. Like if you've got an idea of where you're going and you've got ability to navigate, like they're going to have you do that. Yeah. So it seems like this person kind of knew. It seems like the hiker knew what they were doing. They had an idea, but maybe just needed sort of that confirmation from the conservation officers to be like, yep, keep going this way and you'll make it out eventually. And we'll be there just in case anything happens.
Yeah, right. I think like local knowledge too. I mean, maybe they have some experience on the whites, but you see somebody from the area and they take such a wrong turn like this, then you have to imagine like they just don't have the local knowledge. And even when I was in Hawaii, I was thinking about that. I was like, I have a satellite that I can reference where the trails are, and I had a pretty good idea where I was, but you don't know the terrain, and you could get turned around, I guess, a lot easier in an area where you're not familiar. So.
Yeah, I've done it in our state forest we have here. That's not even that big. Because just again, you're unfamiliar. Yeah,
but this is like 10 or 11 rescues in October. That's on the higher end. I got to tally up. As a matter of fact, before full conditions, I'm going to tally up all the rescue data for the year, and I suspect that we're going to be trending a little higher on rescues year over year. But I'll get the full numbers when I maybe next weekend.
Awesome.
So, but that's it, Ken. You made it. I appreciate you sticking with us.
Yeah,
they said Ken. It's dangerous. You can get it on Amazon. And any parting words of wisdom for us, Ken?
A couple of things really quick. On good news, I was doing some illegal trail running in Pawtucket, but I got a full presidential pardon, so I'm happy with that.
Oh, excellent.
And then, Nick, you're really into photography, right?
Yeah.
I've seen your pictures.
So hobbyist.
So I was hiking with the hiker babes, and I told them, I said, hey, have you heard that Nikon's come out with a camera that's so fast, the shutter speed is so fast, it actually got a picture of a woman with her mouth closed? They got really angry, man. I said, ladies, it's just a joke. Of course there's no camera that fast.
Oh boy, we're gonna get canceled. We're gonna get canceled. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you joining us, Ken, and hopefully we'll see you at full conditions, and we'll continue to plug the book, and thank you for all that you do.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at SLASRPodcast.com. That's SLASRPodcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words to describe this race. Do we all know what they are? Only one hell!
Here's Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared, and I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us at all.